morning. Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Good to see you. Wherever you are, however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day today. What a beautiful day. Nude J. Not nude. Never nude. If things go really poorly, actually, if viewership really craters at this point, because this is the job that I would like to do. I don't want to work for somebody else. So, if things start going really poorly, we may see that. Never do. That's right. I shower in jean shorts. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning. Let's not do the nude. That's please.
You wouldn't care. You wouldn't care if you were still getting your cut of it and it was more. Would you really care?
I mean, sure. You know what? What's it saying? I'll do it for the gram.
It could unlock a new career path for you as a managing adult content creators.
I could be your would that be I'm trying to think of TikTok friendly words. Would I be your the
Go ahead.
P word? Your P word? Would I be your pimp? Would I be your pimp?
I think you would be a madam. Yeah.
I'd be your pimpette. I like that. So
I think it would be madam.
Yeah, Madam works.
I'm not convinced that you don't do that in your off time anyways, to be honest. You always disappear during movie night. You're always doing
I can't confirm or deny. I mean, that would honestly be more reasonable than me being on a date. So
that's true. It was a good movie night last night. If you guys were there, we watched 2073. Not what I thought it was going to be. It's what do we call it? Sobering? Is it sobering?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. We've decided to do a more lighthearted movie the next time. And so far, our only suggestion is V for Vendetta, which isn't that lighthearted. So I don't know. Everybody at the end of that's like, could we laugh?
Yeah. Can we be happy? I guess. I mean, yeah. Some people they thought it was a bit much, but it is what it is.
People always choose Spaceballs. What is it about Spaceballs? Am I just like? That movie didn't work for me. Did you like that movie?
No, not really.
We could watch the Melania movie, actually. We could watch.
Oh my God.
We would just all have to get loaded, whatever your substance of choice is. Just get loaded and watch the Melania. My friend texted me last night and said it was on. It's streaming. Is it Netflix? What did he say?
Is it already out? Didn't it just come out?
It's on Prime. It's streaming on Prime, I guess. I don't know if you have to buy it.
You have to pay for it on Prime because I refuse to pay for anything. I'd watch it when it comes out when it's free.
There's nothing interesting about Melania. If you told the real story of Melania, I'd be interested, but I might watch it just because. How did they make her interesting? What story would you tell?
I don't know.
She came from where's she from? What country? Is she from
Slovenia?
Slovenia? Yeah.
Yeah.
She came from Slovenia and then was Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend until he handed her off to Trump. And then she shut the fuck up for 30 years. And as first lady, we never see her. And she doesn't really do anything except for complain about Christmas decorations and did a Be Best platform, which also didn't make sense. I don't know. Can you imagine if we had a Hispanic president and they used broken English for their policy platform as the first lady? Oh my God. It would be a nightmare.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be good. Not even a little bit. But it's okay when it's women, I guess.
That makes me sad that she's from Slovenia. My favorite basketball player is Luka Doncic, and currently, and it was a while ago when I think the first time they had all that freezing in Texas. A bunch of college golfers from, I think it was Little Rock, Arkansas, if I remember correctly. I think that's the school they were from. Came out here to Arizona, and I played golf with them. And one of the kids was from Slovenia, and I wish I could remember his name. I need to look him up and see how he's doing. But it was really cool, him explaining to me how the education system worked in Slovenia. And so I've been a big fan of Slovenia ever since then, and wish we would replicate what they do. So it's too bad that Melania came over here and just became part of the billionaire class.
Just messed it up for everything else, for all the other Slovenians. I guess. So I don't know if you saw John. It's John on YouTube's birthday. So
Happy birthday, John. Oh, there it is. I see it. John the 4th. Let's get this train started. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. That's a good reminder for me to pull up the payment apps.
I did just see a Venmo come through. I don't know what it says yet, but I'm getting there. Bradley recommends Idiocracy.
That's been another one that, to be honest, I think I've seen it. I don't remember if I've seen it or not.
Where,
it's Luke Wilson.
Is it Luke Wilson, or who am I thinking of? Who's the one where it's all the person keeps making they're new people? Like they're like cloned a bunch of different times. Is that the same movie, or am I thinking something else?
No, I think. Are you thinking of Multiplicity?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
No, not that.
That's what I'm thinking of.
No, it's not that. My PayPal won't load. Also, if there's anybody that's tech savvy, I probably shouldn't say this out loud. I don't know. When I put the VPN on my phone, I no longer can connect to the internet, so I don't know what to do about that. Turn off the VPN on my. Do that real quick. So if anybody knows why that might happen, let me know.
I mean, it's an iPhone, so it's an iPhone setting, possibly. But who knows?
Oh, that makes sense. Brittany said, Tuesday. Thank you for the Antifa dues. Jackie says, hi, bestie. Hi, Jackie. I didn't know we were besties. That's great news. I need besties. Jen, I keep asking Jen if she wants to be bestie, and she says no.
I mean,
her daughter will
you
be.
have a bestie with my spawn, and she might be a little upset that you are taking other bestie applications.
That's a good point. No, she's the only. But well, I'm a little upset with her. She still hasn't provided that video for me.
She's getting her second phase of her braces, so I got to be a little nice to her right now.
Is that rubber band phase?
No, she's already had braces, like first set of braces. Now she's got all of her adult teeth, so now she's having them finished.
I don't know what does that mean?
I guess, I mean, Jackie asked me. I think Jackie's comment said, she told me not to cock block. I'm guessing about your nude. So, sorry, I just saw that.
That's actually part of Jen's role, as we've discussed, like roles in this business. Part of Jen's role is to cock block because I can't be trusted. So I apologize for that, but that is part of Jen's role. I don't have good judgment all the time.
I mean, often you don't listen to me, so there's that. But
if you only knew how little I listen to you sometimes.
And I know that.
Yeah.
I know so much of that, but it's whatever.
Wait, Admir's here. Why is Admir's name I'm sorry, sports mom? And I guess Admir needs a bestie. Admir, what's wrong? Your racist friends don't want to be your best friend anymore? You got too much of an accent for those racist friends over there? And while you're here, Admir, one of your friends wanted me to come debate. They wanted me to debate, and I told them to do it on your platform. They didn't want to do it, so you should talk to them about that. And I think the people are waiting for another debate. I don't know who's out there that wants to debate, Admir, but you should probably set that up.
But yeah, no. So what I was saying about the braces thing is, so she's got all of her adult teeth now. So I guess they don't keep the brace. They wait until you have all your adult teeth so they can stay in place. So she's.
No, I mean, what does the second phase mean? That's what I was asking, I think.
So it's once you got all your adult teeth, then they finish off the straightening of your teeth. So she's had I think she started out with headgear. She did
headgear. Oh,
yeah.
Oof. Whose genes are that? Is that your genes or Dad's genes?
I had all of my adult teeth by the time I was in 4th grade, and I had my braces off by 6th grade. It's not me, but my sister is similar to that. My sister has like a smaller mouth, I guess, and so she's got my sister's teeth, I guess. But
sounds like your sister would be a good fit for me. That's great.
No, my sister would not be a good fit. No, absolutely not.
Why not?
You guys are the same age, though, I think. Yeah.
Cool. So she's substantially younger than you. That's great.
You're so stupid. You were so stupid.
Tell us about your sister.
She's just.
Why is she not a good fit for me? What's that supposed to mean?
That just would be. No, it would just be.
What, she's sane or something?
No.
Oh.
No, she's not.
Sounds like a good fit.
I'm the good child, so there's that. I was the good child, but
You're selling me on your sister right now. I don't know if you realize what you're doing right now. Tell me more bad things about her. That'll work.
I mean,
does she have feelings? Does she cry?
yes, she does have
Oh, I
feelings.
love it. Oh, I love
Yes.
it. I'm in.
She definitely got all the crying genes of our family. So
Is she married?
no.
All right, tell her I said what's up.
Ew. Ew. Well, let's get the show going.
Okay, sorry.
I guess. So here we are with like we are every day, Monday through Friday, from now 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. This is our job. We do this each day. Like I said, we've got a gift goal that we need to hit. So you see the pay apps, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking down that gift goal. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do so. We had a members only event last night that traumatized some people. Some people enjoyed it. We watched 2073 together. So we typically do the movie nights. What is it? Every other week? Is that what we kind of decided? Every
other week. Yep.
So if you're a member, you can join us for that. Paid member on any of the platforms. And so subscribe if you haven't already. If you guys disagree with RTPB and you want to come and talk to them, you can do that. But how you do that is you message me on Discord. My Discord username is the same as the Venmo username. So Jen with 2 N's, Deb with 2 B's, the number one. Check out the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch. She's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify. And
sorry.
What?
I was for you guys. Somebody said, Jen, tell them your sister's a fundamentalist Mormon. That'll stop them. Somebody else asked, does she dress in shag? I thought that was funny.
Yeah, no, she's not. She's one of those bad. I mean, she lives in Utah still. Oh, that would be a no-go, but probably because she's in Utah. So.
Somebody asked about Nightbot, male or female, non-binary is Chatbot, I believe.
They, them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they,
them. So, but yeah, so where'd the joke go that I thought of, or what I thought would be appropriate for our previous part of our conversation? Where the fuck did it go? What lives in a shire and is very kinky?
So it's got to be Frodo. I don't know.
Dildo Shaggins.
That was dumber. I shouldn't have laughed at that. That was dumber than I thought. Is this RTP dates now? He doesn't date. Axe said, have we figured out why everyone couldn't hear you? Not everybody couldn't hear me yesterday. Only a handful of people couldn't. It was a Discord thing, I think. Jen had to restart it or something. So only some people could hear me last night, which isn't a bad thing for you. Illusion said, my light suggestion, seeking a friend for the end of the world. Who's in that? I don't remember who's in that. Jen, do you know who's in that? I don't think I've seen that. Sorry, Jen's out of here already. She's on a date.
No, I haven't.
All right. Let me pull this up. Jesus, Asta Sophia. Thank you. Very generous. Forgot to add comment. Added to Gift Goal Foundation. Bestie from across the pond. Wow. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Everybody, W in the chat for Asta Sophia, who seems to care more about our country than most of the people in this country. Let's get a W in the chat for Asta Sophia, wherever you're watching. I don't know if you're on TikTok or YouTube or Twitch, but thank you. Thank you very, very much. All right, let's get things kicked off here. Republican men are the dumbest. And I don't think I'm breaking any news there, but this is new polling. Good morning for this polling to show up as obligatory fuck text in the chat, but Tex was texting Jen today clips of Nick Fuentes to show me where Nick Fuentes makes the same point that I'm making, but then is like, it's because they're Jews. And Tex thinks that like that somehow makes the point better. That the reason that you criticize Israel is because you hate Jews. So in this case, it was Jake Lang, I think we were criticizing. And Jake Lang, who is absolutely a white nationalist. Nick Fuentes doesn't think he's a true white nationalist because he's also Jewish. But Holocaust denial among young Republicans, percentage who believe the Holocaust was greatly exaggerated or did not happen as historians describe. 77% of Hispanic GOP members. There we go. I think we figured it out. Out how Republicans won over young Hispanic male voters. These particular young Hispanic male voters seem to be easily duped. Black young GOP members 66%, and white male GOP voters 30%. Among men, GOP men under 50, 54% endorsed Holocaust denial versus 18% of women over 50. Just how much more evidence do we need that men are dumb? Oh shit! I didn't change to the video screen. Sorry, there it is. There you go. My bad. I have this theory. I think I've mentioned this theory before, but I have a theory on and no disrespect to our friends here and our women friends in the audience here, and it's not your fault, but I do think that we made a mistake, centuries ago. And centuries ago, when we had hunter-gatherer societies, if you look at it, the women actually ran the whole thing. They were the executives. They took care of the kids. They prepared all the meals. They kept everything functioning in the community. And then the men would go out and hunt. And these men were sensitive little Sallies. And so when the men came back with something to eat that they had killed, they threw a big party for the men, and they told them how great they were so that they would have the courage and the energy to go back out there. And somewhere along the line, I think we hyped up men too much. And then men are like, maybe we should lead. And then we have this. So we do need there needs to be some accountability there for the first humans on Earth, for the first few centuries of women praising the men. And maybe praising them too much. Maybe they needed to treat them with a little less celebration. So take that, feminists. Take that. I'm beyond disappointed in my Hispanic men. Well, the good news is, there's not that many Hispanic men that vote for the GOP, and there's not that many black men who vote for the GOP. And you can look across any demographic. The dumbest men in any demographic vote for Republicans. That's just a normal thing. So it shouldn't be surprising that Hispanic men and black men are higher percentages, because most Hispanic men and most black men don't vote for the GOP. The only ones that really do seem to be the fucking idiots. So percentage-wise, it looks bad. But when you look at the total number of people who are voting, this is not a significant portion of Hispanic or black men. It's just that their dumbest ones vote for the GOP. You want to make this your new Facebook post, see how it does? I've gotten pushback on that take many times. Survivor blaming, damn Jay. I know. Look, I've never been able to word that in the right way, but there's something to it. We just, as men, we just got used to being praised for the bare minimum, and I think we need to be blamed for that too. But perhaps we could blame some of the early women who just thought, oh, if we praise these guys, they'll keep bringing us food. Maybe they didn't expect that those people would gain confidence and then try and run the world with low IQs. There's also, I didn't put this on the outline today, but I was on Twitter, and it shows the trending stories of the day, and it'll show engagement numbers. It'll be 600,000 people shared this post, 700,000 people shared this post, and then it was 1,600 people shared a post that said Donald Trump had an IQ of 165. I was like, man, that's tough. Twitter's trying to convince everybody that Trump has a 165 IQ. They're putting it on the front page, and still only 1,600 people posted about it. The idiots who vote for Republican first wouldn't be here. Second, couldn't read what I'm writing. I thought about 55 to 65% of Hispanic males voted for Republican. About 8 to 15% of black men. Is that right on Hispanic men? Let's look at that. I think that's about right on black men, but let's look real quick. Do we have a source on that? Pulling up real quick. It's thinking. Correction, Trump IQ 16.5. Yeah, they just moved the decimal. Holy shit, 54%. All right, I don't know what's going on with Hispanic men then. I feel bad overgeneralizing like that, but something's going on. That's according to Edison. Pew said 50%. NBC. Okay, so on the high end, 54%. Most polls have it around 43 to 48%. Hispanic men made up about 6% of voters. Okay, is that 54% of Hispanic men that voted, though? Somebody's going to have to do those numbers. I don't know. You Dem supporters voted for an open border. Not true. Sex trafficking of kids, illegal criminals coming into our nation, and you call it. Yeah, no, we didn't vote for any of that. That's just, you're dumb enough to believe that that's what we voted for. That's what they told you. None of us. Raise your hand if you voted for open borders. Raise your hand in the chat if you support open borders, sex trafficking of kids, and illegal criminals coming into our nation. Just raise your hand. A little hand up in the chat there. This is what we're saying. Like when we say that Trump voters are dumb, this is exactly what we're talking about. They tell you a lie about what we believe, and then you just show up and repeat it. Just no evidence. You've never, not once. Show me one prominent or content creator or politician on the left who says they support open borders. Just give me one. I don't know any. I don't know a single person who supports open borders. 0 hands went up in the chat. 0. This is how easy it is to fuck with you guys. And this is why, like, we'll get to this throughout the show today, but this is exactly why Donald Trump can do stuff, the exact opposite of what he campaigned on, and you don't care, because every time he does something that it was the opposite of what he campaigned on, he just tells you, actually, just remember that the Democrats wanted open borders. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember that now. I'm not going to look into anything. Phoenix says that's an easy figure to misrepresent. He has an IQ of 65. Yeah, that seems about right. Honestly, I'd put Trump's IQ between like 65 and 85. He's an effective communicator to dumb people. So he's got some intelligence. So they don't say they support open borders, but they vote for open borders. Nobody voted for open borders. What the fuck are you talking about? Harris did not support open borders. The border was never open. We've never had open borders. Well, that's not true. We had open borders originally. The open borders thing is just a lie. This is what we're saying. Like, you guys have to stop being this goddamn dumb. This is why we can't have good things in this country. This is why we never fix our economic system, because we're consistently fighting with you guys to get you to address reality. I don't know how to tell you this. We didn't have open borders during the Biden administration. It's not a thing. All the people that were showing up at the border were almost exclusively asylum seekers. And that's a legal process, and you have to let them through. Unless you change the laws, which Republicans were unwilling to do. It's getting old arguing with you guys, because it's like talking to somebody about the best basketball player ever, and I'm like, I think it's Michael Jordan, and you're like, actually, it's Dr. Phil. What? Dr. Phil didn't play basketball. What if he did? There's no way to argue with you guys. Like, what's your favorite color? My favorite color is royal blue. What's your favorite color? Rocks. It's not a color. Rocks aren't a color. What's your favorite genre of music? I don't know. My preference is like late 90s, early 2000s rap. What's your favorite genre of music? Orange juice? That's not music. That is a beverage. That's literally what it's like talking to MAGA. You guys just live in this alternate reality. Today, I got a message from a guy today. I don't know if he's here. He might be here. But we talk about politics. I'll actually pull it up. I enjoy him, honestly. I don't mind through DMs talking to crazy MAGA, but let me pull this up. Sent me a video of Jim Brewer. If you're aware of who Jim Brewer is, he's an insane like MAGA comedian. And what was it even about? Let me play. Oh, he's trying to convince me that Joe Biden died in 2019. That the person who ran the country, or who was president, depending on which MAGA conspiracy theory you think wasn't actually Joe Biden. And it was like Jim Brewer, like, look in this picture. He looks taller than in other pictures. I was like, bro, you got to get off that algorithm. And he's like, I bet you think Michelle Obama was a woman too. I was like, Jesus Christ. And I asked him, I was like, why would I care? Even if Michelle Obama was born a man and was a trans woman, why the fuck would I care? His response was, well, then those aren't her children. Okay, but even if that was true, why would I care about that? It is wild to watch you guys care about shit that is entirely irrelevant, and like just how easy it is to distract you from the world around you. Those are the things that you seem to care about. Jim Brewer's career died in 2009. Is that when Half Baked happened? In 2009? Assume so. All right. This is, I don't get this. Do we have anybody from Colorado here? Admir, I don't know if you're still here. The fuck's going on with the governor of Colorado, Jared Polis? He's been floating this idea of pardoning Tina Peters. Can somebody explain that to me? Why in the world Tina Peters would get a pardon? Here's Kyle Clark, our favorite broadcaster in Colorado.
Tina Peters has insisted for years that she did nothing wrong in leading a breach of Colorado's voting systems by election deniers. Late last week, Democratic Governor Jared Polis said on this program that Peters must show contrition and apologize for him to release her from prison.
Tina Peters is the person in Colorado. She was an election official, and she gave access to the voting machines to just like a random dude. And she got in trouble for that because obviously you can't do that. And then Trump pardoned her, even though it's a state crime, so he can't pardon her. And now Jared Polis is talking about giving her clemency.
Polis said on this program that Peters must show contrition and apologize for him to release her from prison early. Well, today, Peters' attorney suggested she's sorry. The surprise announcement from Tina Peters' attorney is a 180-degree turn from her years of defiance. She's a political prisoner, innocent of the charges against her.
If you remember at her trial, this judge excoriated her, just like brutal takedown when he sentenced her. He's like, you are unapologetic. You are a liar. You refuse to acknowledge that what you did here was wrong. You deserve the harshest possible sentence. And now that she's in jail, Governor Polis is like, oh, well, if she says sorry, you know, just say, if I'm her, I'm just going to say I'm sorry. But you know what's going to happen? This is all too predictable. She will come out through her lawyer, say that she's sorry. If she's granted clemency, she will be at Trump rallies. Trump will bring her up on stage. She will not be contrite. She's not sorry. But can we hold anybody in this administration accountable for anything that they do? Please. We already let the J6ers off the hook. We need to let these people off the hook too.
Doing her duty when she snuck an outsider into the voting system. President Trump is carrying out promised retaliation against the state of Colorado until his ally, Tina Peters, is freed. And Governor Polis seems increasingly eager to give Peters clemency if she shows remorse. Here's Peters' attorney, John Case, on Conservative Talk Radio this morning, saying while her clemency petition is confidential, he dropped this hint.
We can't reveal what Tina's true feelings are about her actions and why she did what she did and what part of that she regrets because she could have made a different decision.
Why can't you reveal her true feelings? Could you have done it in court? If I'm Governor Polis, there's no way, he's negotiating. We're not going to tell you her true feelings unless, no. You want to show some contrition? Apologize. Sit in jail for a while. You want clemency? Like, she's an older lady. I think she's like in her late 70s. Probably going to die in jail. I'm not opposed to letting somebody's sentence be commuted if they show contrition, but like there's got to be something. You can't have somebody show no contrition and then the second they show contrition, you just let them out. Yeah, are they going to let every criminal out if they say sorry? No, but poor old white lady in jail. We all know jails are not for old white ladies. They can't be there. Look what they're doing with Ghislaine Maxwell.
But yeah,
I'm FRCD said a racist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic online forum for young Republicans in South Florida has conservative politicians working hard to distance themselves from the controversy. Again, Baptist News. Send that to me. Send me that link. I haven't seen that.
Of course, anyone has second thoughts about what they've
She started
done.
a fight in jail. Wait, is that real? Did Tina Peters start a fight in jail? I'm gonna look that up.
And in that respect, has remorse. So, but I can't tell you, I can't say publicly what's in her application for clemency.
Full disclosure, late last week I offered a commentary here saying that Tina Peters was not likely to be willing to fake remorse to get out of prison. I just want to acknowledge that was perhaps the worst take of my many terrible commentaries over 9 years of this program. This morning on the radio, Peters' attorney, John Case, went on to say that while Peters has remorse, he believes that she is a martyr for the stolen elections cause and that she's really being held in prison as a scapegoat to cover up the election crimes they claim have been committed by Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser.
Yeah, if Polis lets her out, I hope everybody votes to primary Polis.
And Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold. Governor Polis has not indicated when he will make a decision on whether to free Peters early.
All right, so apparently in jail, Tina Peters was wheeling a cart when another inmate approached. The initial moment is partially obscured, but then Peters then pushed the inmate back. Do we have video of this? Is there a fight of Tina? Is there a video of Tina Peters in a fight? This would be amazing. Have you guys seen this or something? How did this not show up? Oh my God. How's this not show up on my timeline? Fuck you, Twitter. All right, there's Tina Peters. Is it too late now to say sorry? Maybe that was the problem. Grabbed her by the throat? What a psycho. Dude, was that lady just trying to help? What's going on there? I think that lady maybe thought she was trying to like get it through this way. She probably tried to help her like pull it through the door this way. Yeah, leave her in jail. That's a psycho. Somebody told her that if anybody fucks with her in jail, she has to fight them, and there she is. Someone send that to the governor. Yeah, I mean, there's no words there, but that looks like her overreacting a bit. All right, this sucks. This is the abstract from a study here, but researchers tested 11 of the most popular AI models, including ChatGPT and Gemini. They analyzed over 11,500 real advice-seeking conversations, and the finding was universal, that every single model agreed with users 50% more than a human would here. You can see both the general public and academic communities have raised concerns about a sycophancy, the phenomenon of artificial intelligence, AI excessively agreeing with or flattering users. Yet beyond isolated media reports of severe consequences like reinforcing delusions, little is known about the extent of sycophancy or how it affects people who use AI. Here we show the pervasiveness and harmful impacts of sycophancy when people seek advice from AI. First, across 11 state-of-the-art AI models, we find that models are highly sycophantic. They affirm users' actions 50% more than humans do, and they do so even in cases where user queries mention manipulation, deception, and other relational harms. Second, in 2 pre-registered experiments, including a live interaction study where participants discuss a real interpersonal conflict from their life, we find that the interaction with sycophantic AI models significantly more often than not, it's cut off there, agrees with the user. So I would highly recommend not getting your therapy from AI. If I can make any suggestions there. Bradley says, Idiocracy, thank you. Good. That's a good choice there. All right. Moving on. Oh, shit. Where'd my outline go? Did I close it? I did. Whew. Close call. All right. Speaking of AI, Watch Ted Cruz almost get a right answer, and that's where we're at now with Ted Cruz. When Ted Cruz almost comes to the correct conclusion, we got to give him a little shout out and encourage him to make better conclusions. If you remember, the government decided that they were no longer going to use Anthropic because Anthropic said, we don't want you to surveil American citizens, and we don't want our AI making decisions when it comes to warfare without human interaction. And so Pete Hegseth pissed his pants and threw a fit and was like, nobody in the government can use Anthropic anymore. And that's where they landed. But Ted Cruz has a slight disagreement with that. And because of that, Ted Cruz, we're going to give you a small golf clap for getting close to the right answer.
Big news that we've been tracking all morning in the business world is the possibility of an executive order by the President of the United States to prevent all of the government from doing business with Anthropic, which, of course, runs the Claude large language model. I'm curious what your reaction to that is and whether you think the Department of War should no longer be using Anthropic and whether you think the entire government should not be using Anthropic.
Andrew, I'll confess I have not seen a basis laid out for why the government would be prohibited from using Anthropic. Claude is one of the many AI tools that can be very helpful. Secretary Hegseth laid out his reasoning that Anthropic was trying to control and limit how the Department of War would
Ted Cruz ate your son, Jesus.
employ an AI, and he rightly said that the military is not going to allow a private sector country to set military and defense policy for America. I think that's reasonable on the face of it. I haven't seen a broader basis for a government-wide prohibition, so I don't, without more information, I don't have a view one way or the other.
Good answer. Everybody golf clap for Ted Cruz. Yes, there's no reason that the government should say you can't use this tool just because they don't want the, let me take that back. He sees no reason why the government should be picking in winners and losers. But then Ted Cruz does what Ted Cruz always does and fucks it up.
I think part of the question is just whether this has become effectively political or not. In part because
how does Ted Cruz stand with no back? Rafael Cruz stand with no backbone? I don't know. It's really remarkable.
Now that the deal that has been reached between the Pentagon and OpenAI is actually quite similar to the deal that Anthropic effectively was putting forth, meaning OpenAI is providing its model, but with all of with guardrails on it.
Look, my view on AI, as you know, I chair the Senate Commerce Committee, and I think we are in the middle of a race for AI with China, and I think it is the most important economic challenge.
I'd like to ask this once again to the chat. Not an expert here, but can somebody please explain to me why it is so important for us to be to get to AI dominance first? I don't understand this argument. I've been trying really hard to figure out why it's important for America to be the world leader in AI. I don't know. Anybody here know?
Of this next century, that we need to win the race for AI. Whichever country wins the race for AI is going to dominate AI. We are going to see millions of jobs that are going to be created through dominating AI.
Huh? What jobs will be created by AI that aren't offset by AI taking jobs? It doesn't take that many people to run a data center. It's already doing coding. They're now talking about using AI to do medical billing. It's not going to create millions of, like, either Ted Cruz, I'm 50-50 on this. I don't have a lot of confidence that Ted Cruz knows what the fuck he's talking about. But if he does, then he's lying. It's not going to create millions of jobs. This is not going to make give more jobs to people. It's going to take jobs away.
And we're also going to see the country that wins.
Exactly, Autistic Annie. AI is coding itself at this point, and there is some evidence now that AI. They say the AI is becoming sentient, which I think is hyperbolic. But what AI is doing is learning human behavior and then modeling human behavior. And so now you see AI start reacting and performing like a human and reacting on what we feel is emotion, but what AI recognizes as human behavior. That's not good. I've seen iRobot. Yeah, I'm with you too, Lisa. Like she said, I'm floored with how convincingly and effortlessly they lie to us. It's one or the other. He either is lying or he legitimately doesn't know, and he's just saying what his donors tell him to say. Illusion said the AGI will win ultimate power like in wars.
Values of that country suffusing AI, and so I don't want the values of communist China dictating AI. I want America.
AI will never do medical billing. It can't be programmed to steal. Yeah, it probably can.
America too. I recognize the question you're asking. Look, between the two companies, I don't have a dog in that fight.
But I think the senator is always honest, and you would probably say, just as it wasn't right when we were trying to win the EV race to exclude Tesla from that White House meeting because they didn't
Remember when we lost the EV race?
employ union workers. This is probably not necessarily the right move if it's political. Neither one is right.
It is not political to exclude Tesla from that discussion on EVs for not employing union workers. That's not political. That is saying we are going to invest in companies who invest in their own people. We are going to help companies who help their own people. So if you are actively stripping away the rights of or not stripping away, but denying the ability for your workers to collectively bargain and negotiate fair wages, then yeah, you don't get to be involved in this. Sorry. Why would the government bring in Tesla when Tesla doesn't want to pay their workers a fair wage? That's not political. That's just looking out for the workers.
And one administration.
AI can already detect when it's being tested and act differently to avoid shutdown. Shut the fuck. I hate that. I'm sorry for yelling at you. What you said is true, and that makes me angry.
Doesn't mean it's okay for another administration to do it, if that's what it is.
Vote local Democrats, big stage, always Republicans. Why? On a federal level, what are Republicans going to give you? Deficits and war? That's what they give you. What do Republicans bring to the table on a federal level? Deficits and war.
Some personal thing between Hegseth and Darrow.
Look, Anthropic as a company has a whole bunch of...
It's not smaller government, dude. If you increase the deficit, like, why do you want smaller government? Because you want less interaction? The federal government needs to be large, especially given the size and scale of our economy. When the Republicans are in office, they deregulate, and they do deregulation for massive corporations, and massive corporations then swallow up the middle class. You don't, yeah, you're getting great news. If you want, why, man, back, I'll engage here. Why do you want smaller government? What are the outcomes there that you think you're going to get from smaller government? When we say smaller government, if you look at this Trump turn and you say smaller government, what has it meant? It has meant that the government systems are less effective. That's it. Nothing government runs is ran well. That's not true either. The military. Are you disrespecting the military there, my friend? Are you upset about the safety standards when you fly? How about that road you drove on? How good are those private roads you've been driving on? You go to public school? Which states have the best public schools? Oh, the ones with that spend the most money, that have the biggest bureaucratic systems in states. It is an it's a lazy lie, honestly, man bag, to say that the government doesn't run anything well. How about Medicare? Medicare's far more efficient than private insurance. More money, if you're on Medicare, more of the money that goes into that program pays for your care than private insurance, and it's cheaper, and they collectively bargain. So Medicare is better. Social Security. What's the rival to Social Security? The markets that crash every 8 years that are slanted to benefit the wealthy? This is just one of those things that I wish conservatives would analyze this a little bit more. It's a fun thing to say, A lot of people love saying that. Conservatives and maybe people in general love to criticize. They love to think that they're smarter than everybody else. It's easy to look at the federal government and say that the federal government's ineffective. And in a lot of ways, the federal government is ineffective. But it's mostly due to lobbying and their proximity to the wealthy and to corporations who are happy to take handouts from the government and then not pay taxes. I would much rather, if I was in charge of the government right now, if you gave me a month to be in charge of the government, immediately universal health care, immediately ramping up the IRS, and immediately ending Citizens United, and watch all your problems, most of your problems start to disappear. You want to stop operating with deficits every year? Collect the taxes that are owed. In fact, I'll give you an example because it actually came up on my timeline today. But James O'Keefe in 2025, I think, he did this undercover sting, which he always does, which are phony as shit. But it was an IRS agent, and he gets them into a restaurant, and then they like tell the secrets. And the IRS agent's basically like, "We're using AI, and we have access to everybody's bank accounts." True story. Is that a violation of our rights? Probably. And Harriet Hageman runs out to the media and is like, an independent journalist has shown that the IRS has AI tools and they can access your bank accounts. That sounds bad, right? And she went out and she's like, they're going to go after the little guys. And then you can go back to 2023 during the Biden administration. And this story is connected. When the Biden administration wanted to expand the IRS, they also gave AI tools to people in the IRS. Why? Because our tax code is so convoluted and so rigged for the wealthy that we didn't have enough agents and expertise and manpower to go through the taxes of the wealthiest people in this country. So AI was then a useful tool. And because these people are so capable of hiding their money, they gave them access to AI tools. Is it a violation of their rights? Probably. It's probably a violation of their rights, unless those people are dodging taxes, in which case, get a warrant and get access to their accounts. And I'm not sure, like James O'Keefe's video didn't say that they're doing it warrantless. So it needs more investigation. But it was interesting how this thing's happening. Like we make changes to the IRS, we hire more people, and we give them tools to go after the biggest tax cheats in this country. And the immediate response from Republicans was to trot out the story of the Biden administration wants to give the IRS agents all guns and significantly increase the size of the IRS. They're going to show up at your house with guns. No, they were going after the wealthy, and the wealthy bribed the Republicans to go out there and spin a narrative that the IRS was going to come after you, and they were going to show up with guns and take your money. It's easy to go through your taxes. It's very fucking easy because most of you are W-2. So they see your income. They've already taken out a lot of taxes. Most people at the end of the year aren't paying a lot of taxes. The majority, Mitt Romney got in trouble for this because he said like 47% of Americans don't pay income taxes at the end of the year. Yeah, because it was already taken out. Right? The stuff that they owed was already taken out. So yeah, 47% of Americans at that time, I don't know what it is now, at the end of the year, they basically owed nothing or they got a return because they were overcharged. But the Biden administration tried really hard to go tax the rich people, just not increasing their taxes, just collecting what they owe. And immediately, that same billionaire class lobbied and paid the Republicans to trot this out, probably paid James O'Keefe to do this undercover story. And the Republicans like, yeah, the government's bad. Government's inefficient. They're always in our business. They're going to come after us. And that's the beauty of being a fucking billionaire in this country. Every time something is mildly inconvenient for you, you just kick a couple $100,000 to Republicans, and they'll trot out there and tell you that the middle class is under attack.
Biden administration.
All right, we'll end that there with Cruz. Yeah, and the idiots just eat it up. All right. Last week, I played a clip from Marc Elias, and here's Marc Elias again. But it's a reminder here that The Trump administration has been trying to subpoena the voter rolls for multiple states, and they keep losing. They've lost every time in court because rightfully so. The courts have said you don't have any right to get access to those voter rolls. So now what the Republicans are doing, which is going to go to court again, and we'll see like how much information they can get. Now they're suing individual counties. You saw it in Fulton County, and now we're seeing it in Maricopa County. These will be overturned. If you can't have the state voter rolls, you sure as shit can't have the county voter rolls. But these counties are underfunded, and they're finding friendly judges that give them access to this. And when it goes to the higher courts, it's going to be overruled. But here's Marc Elias explaining now what's happening in my county, here in Phoenix, in Maricopa County, which I believe is the largest county by size, like total size, not population, like 7th highest population by county.
Where do you see this latest effort in Maricopa?
One other thing, they audited the 2020 election in Maricopa County 5 times. And after those 5 audits, all done by Republicans, they found that Joe Biden won by a handful more votes than they thought he did. 5 times we've audited this motherfucking county to the tune of tens of millions of dollars that has been passed along to taxpayers like me here in this county. And they've, because of these deficits now that we're running, we've had to cut funding for schools, for public works, all because Republicans will not accept that Donald Trump lost in 2020. And here we are now going to have to fight another lawsuit, probably pay millions of more dollars to fight the Trump administration from their completely fraudulent claims that the 2020 election was stolen.
Maricopa County fitting into this escalation?
Oh, you can see it. I mean, it's plain as day, right? They seized ballots in Fulton County.
Oh, sorry, real quick. Christy said the U.S. has never held traitors accountable. I'm sorry, I was late on that. That was for Tina Peters. Soup My Fam said, not Jay blaming women on Women's History Month. Fuck. Good point. Shouldn't have done that. That was very sexist of me. I didn't mean it.
Georgia. They have now, through subpoena, gotten access to ballots from Maricopa County. Note they're not getting them statewide, right? They're not seeking to get all of the Georgia ballots or all of the Arizona ballots. They're targeting blue cities in the same way that when Donald Trump said he wanted Republicans to take over voting. What did he say next? He said there are 15 places or so, right? And in a later comment, he, I think, listed Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. And so the reason why this plays into it is because he is setting up the permission structure among his base and among people who are not paying attention, that when he is not able to get the ballots in Detroit or Philadelphia
Good question, Jamie said, I don't get the lawsuits in Georgia. You can just buy the rolls because they want the actual ballots. Why they want the actual ballots, you could guess. Do they want to manipulate the ballots? Do they want to get rid of some of the ballots? Do they just want to have those ballots so that you can't compare them to other voter rolls when they come out and make claims? And then when Georgia refutes the claims, they're like, you don't have the originals, we do. I'm not sure. Good question. But they're after the original ballots for some reason, which again, in Fulton County, they didn't go to the depths they did in Maricopa. But in Maricopa County, we were literally looking at the paper and trying to find traces of bamboo to prove that the ballots were printed in China, as if China wouldn't know or couldn't have access to the same paper we have here. Like it was dumbassery at its core. I legitimately think somebody from the Cyber Ninjas is like, well, they have panda bears in China. Pandas eat bamboo, so there must be bamboo in the paper. And so they literally spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to prove that these ballots in Maricopa County had bamboo fibers in them. And then that was going to lead them to prove that China printed off these ballots, got them to Americans, had Americans fill them out, and then submitted them. And somehow they were going to prove that these Americans that were on the voter rolls didn't vote on their own, and that Maricopa County didn't send them out an actual ballot. Maricopa County's like, that's fine, just use these Chinese ballots. It was one of the dumbest conspiracy theories I've ever heard.
Some other county, because they say no, or the courts won't give him what he wants, that he will then...
William said, please get off the red blue team stuff. They all hate us. Shut the fuck up. When Democrats do something wrong, we talk about it. When Republicans do something wrong, we talk about it. It's not like, I don't know why you guys do this. Stop it, man. Why don't we all just shut the fuck up and say they all hate us? Because that doesn't affect anything. I'd like to give out the information, but I happen to live in a red county, Maricopa County. I happen to live in the reddest part of Maricopa County, and I can tell you firsthand that the fuckery in our elections and the fuckery and the fraud that occurs in our state comes almost exclusively at the hands of Republicans. It's such a lukewarm, pussy bitch statement. Everybody hates us. Stop doing this, both sides. I'm not. I'm simply reporting on what's happening here. And this makes me believe that what you really are is a Republican who doesn't like criticism. And you're uncomfortable with the fact that we're going to talk about Republicans. When the Democrats are equally as corrupt as the Republicans, we'll talk about it. When the Democrats are corrupt, we do talk about it. But under Donald Trump, it's not fucking close. It's not, because Donald Trump is corrupt and he controls the whole goddamn party. So until we get these cucky bitches out of here, it's going to be corruption on corruption on corruption on corruption. And it's tiring hearing like the both sides do it. It's such a lazy take. It's like, don't be a fence sitter just to be a fence sitter.
Have the excuse to send in the FBI, to send in ATF, to send in CPB, to send in, ICE, whoever it is, whatever federal agency it is, to seize the ballots.
Democrats run Maricopa County. Sure they do. Yeah, go look at the elections. Go look at that. Go look at the Maricopa County supervisors. Go look at who's running elections. Republicans did very well in Maricopa County because they're smaller elections and people don't vote down ballot as much. In fact, Maricopa County supervisors, there was like 8 to 10 people on the ballot. Like 3 of them were Democrats. They're just wrong about that. All right. Here's Marc Elias too. And this, I want to show this just because I think a lot of times we get really worried, and admittedly, I get worried. We've looked at Election Truth Alliance, and there's some troubling stuff there, and there's some troubling stuff about Elon Musk's ability to get access to outcomes before anybody else did. But it's also important to remember that there are people like Marc Elias who doesn't agree with Election Truth Alliance, and I think he's wrong about some of that. But he also is the person who is fighting the Trump administration in court, and he beats their ass all the time. And so it's important to remember that, like, unless all of a sudden this Supreme Court starts acting very differently, and not many of us like this Supreme Court, but they've held pretty firm on election stuff. And again, Trump's going to lose these cases.
The first is that we are seeing preparations. And, the fact that I lay out what Donald Trump is going to do doesn't mean he's going to succeed, right? Like, he didn't succeed in 2020.
That's important.
And the fact is he didn't.
What do you mean the last time? You don't know when the last time I brought up my blue team? 1, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a registered Republican. 2, yesterday. Probably, and then probably on Friday. Every fucking day. I haven't gone a single day that I can think of without criticizing Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Every fucking day I criticize them. And now you're showing your true colors. It was never about like, oh, what about both sides? You're just a Republican who doesn't like criticism. If you don't think I've ever criticized Democrats, you don't watch this show. I do it all the time. I can't fucking stand the Democrats. I really can't. They have no power though. What do you want me to what do you want me to criticize Democrats for right now? Let me know what you want me to criticize. They have no power. They can't pass any bills.
Succeed in 2022, and we were prepared in 2024, and we'll be prepared in 2026. So there's a lot of preparation going on. As you point out, secretaries of state and governors and AGs are doing their part. My law firm and I, we are currently litigating more than 90 cases in 45 states, which is an incredible number given the size of our firm and given how early it is in the cycle. And there are other groups and law firms that are also fighting by our side. So we are seeing the preparations on our side. What I do worry about, and it's the reason why I love, people don't realize Michael and I text with one another because he and I really do see the world very similar to one another. And one of the things you and I talk about is I worry that too many of the large institutions of this country, parts of the network media that perhaps is being bought by wealthy families, or the parts of the legal establishment, law firms that are not fighting back. Like, we're not seeing the level of urgency there that we need, because everyone needs to be prepared for what's going to happen, but they also need to understand that it is happening so that it doesn't come as a surprise. So it's one of the reasons why you and I lay it out, step by step now, so that when people see it, they're like, oh, yes, okay, this is what we were told, and now there's going to be a plan to fight it back.
Yeah, Marc Elias has done incredible work. Marc Elias is probably one of the most important people in terms of resisting this administration and fighting fascism. I think he's fairly moderate, but he's beating their ass in court every time he goes there, and he's fighting for American democracy. So I don't think Marc Elias and I have the exact same politics. I'm guessing he's pretty far right of me, but he's winning in court. And he's doing something that most law firms aren't willing to do, and they're doing it very, very effectively. I guess you need a job, so you're here doing it. Yeah. This is another cop out by you, William. This is just sheer cowardice. Now it's the personal attacks, right? Like, you say I don't criticize them. We give you an example of me criticizing them. They're like, I guess you need a job, so you're doing it here. There's no way to turn this around. Well, yeah, that's because you don't have any influence, man. That's why. You're just kind of a fence-sitting quitter. You can go quit, and the rest of us will keep talking about it. The rest of us will have a voice, and the rest of us will keep trying to sound the alarm. You can just be a fucking quitter over there and sit on the fence. Sometimes you bounce up and down. You might come. It might be fun for you. But yeah, it sounds like you're sitting this one out, so we don't need you. All right. Now I want to hear Trump accidentally telling the truth here about the SAVE Act. Quick reminder about the SAVE Act. It is not a voter ID bill. It is a voter suppression bill. It's not simply about voter ID. If it was, then the voter ID that we already have in place would count, but they want to make it more difficult. They're asking people to re-register to vote, and they're asking people to take all these extra steps for a problem that doesn't exist. Election fraud, in the way that they're talking about it, and people who are voting illegally, whether they might be a felon in a state that doesn't allow them to vote. They might be an undocumented immigrant. They might be voting in two states. Any way that you as a voter could try and manipulate the system, there is no widespread fraud. It is very, very minimal, like a handful in every state every year, and it gets caught every single time. So there isn't actually a problem here. That's why the SAVE Act is a voter suppression act, and that's why you will never hear Donald Trump talk about anything other than voter ID. You'll never hear him talk about anything other than polling that says people should have to identify or prove their citizenship to vote, which already exists. You'll notice he never talks about any of the other details in the SAVE Act, but then he tells the truth here.
They're doing everything possible.
All voting is fraud.
Because they know if we get this, they probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer.
Why is that? Let's analyze that. What he wants you to think is that the reason Democrats wouldn't win is because there's all this voter fraud, but there isn't. So what's he really saying here? He's saying that if Republicans want to keep winning, we have to keep the least amount of people available to vote possible. They've looked at the numbers. When voter turnout is high, they lose. When voter turnout is low, they win. So they want voter turnout to be as low as possible. They want privileged people who love their place of privilege, who do not want that privilege threatened by meritocracy or somebody that has less money and power than them rising up and getting that privilege themselves. It's a bunch of mostly like scared suburban people who are afraid of anything outside of their little echo chamber. And he wants those people to vote, and those people only.
And they're going to fight like hell. But boy, do they get killed. Because even the Democrats, you saw the numbers today, Democrats voted 86% that this stuff should be passed.
No, they didn't. That's an unequivocal lie. Nobody voted. It didn't pass. Democrats didn't vote for this. He's talking about a poll. And the poll is, should you have to prove your citizenship before you vote? And yeah, 86% with a photo ID, by the way. That's what the poll says. And it's a small sample size, but I would imagine most people would think that. I also think that most people don't ever run through that in their heads. Like, what if you're a citizen here, but you don't have a photo ID? Should you be able to register to vote without a photo ID? Of course. Is it going to be more difficult? Yep. You're going to need a birth certificate. You're gonna need probably a social security number. You've got to prove your ID another way. But most people that are polled, like they don't really think through that very well. But that's what he's citing here. He's not citing anything about the SAVE Act. None of this polling is on the details of the SAVE Act.
The Democrats, with Republicans, you're at 98%, but Democrats are at 86%, except for the people that run the Democrats.
It wasn't a poll. What was it then, Jason? What vote was it? Because the SAVE Act surely didn't get 86% in the House, and it hasn't passed the Senate. So if it wasn't a poll, what was it? Also, poll is P-O-L-L. You're saying poll like a pole in the ground, like the North Pole. Come on, Jason, I need you to answer this question, bud. I stopped it for you. If it wasn't a poll, what was it? Jason, one more chance, then we got to mute you. Don't make me... I get really annoyed when I stop the stream for somebody, and then they don't answer the question. You're not thinking very much? All right, Jason, enjoy your 5 minutes of mutes.
Democrat Party, because they want to try and win elections illegally. It's the only reason you vote against voter ID is because you want to cheat. There's no other reason. They come up with reasons. They say, it's racist. That's their number one, racist. Then you have to explain it, and they're just sitting there mumbling. They can't explain it.
That's what you're doing. You're mumbling and can't explain it. It's not that it's racist to have ID. It's that it disproportionately affects marginalized people and poor people. And poor people disproportionately are people of color. So it doesn't mean that you hate people of color. It just means that it disproportionately affects people of color, especially people who might be first-generation Americans. It's hard to track down those documents. All right. This is cool. You guys remember yesterday, and quick update here, my brother's girlfriend yesterday coming into the States, she's a resident of another country. They were coming in from Mexico, which is not where she's a resident from, was detained by DHS and taken into a back room. They did take her phone. Turns out what they said is, they're like, who are you here with? She's like, I'm with my boyfriend. They're like, well, why weren't you in line with him? It's like, because he's a citizen and there's two different lines. They're like, well, next time he should be in the line with you. She's like, all right. Nothing really happened. She got released fairly quickly after that. But fortunately, and I talked to her this morning, I was like, that's a good news you were white, because if you weren't, something like this could happen.
First place as a U.S. citizen. The 28-year-old was held by DHS for nearly First place as a U.S. citizen. The 28-year-old was held by DHS for nearly 2 days, taken from O'Hare here to Broadview, and then sent off to another facility in Dodge County, Wisconsin. A large crowd of protesters joining local elected officials today outside the ICE processing facility in Broadview, demanding answers for what they say was an unlawful detainment of 28-year-old Sunny Naqvi.
Why is Jason still here? Can somebody mute Jason for 5 minutes? Thank you. I wanted 5 minutes of Jason to be muted for being a pussy and not answering questions.
Who was born in Evanston and raised in the suburbs.
It was just a really scary time, and I think that it's really scary to know that this could happen to someone born here.
A few weeks ago, Naqvi was set to travel to India for a work trip with 5 other people. That group included 3 U.S. citizens and 3 green card holders, all in the States legally. The trip ultimately fell through at the last minute for other reasons, so the group went on to continue traveling overseas. Naqvi and her colleagues arrived back in Chicago on Thursday, where she was suddenly detained by DHS for what her attorney says was a curious travel history. She spent 30 hours detained at O'Hare before the family says she was sent to the Broadview facility.
The cop.
I thought, didn't Kristi Noem say that we don't arrest U.S. citizens, we don't detain them?
Were lying to our faces. They were saying, we were asking them, hey, her location is here. We were in contact with her, and they kept being like, I don't know what to tell you.
They asked for Sunny's phone number so they could search the facility for her phone. About 10 minutes later, the phone opened, text messages were read, and the phone was turned off, and we lost her location.
They say her phone was dead, so she had to hitchhike with a person driving nearby to a hotel in Wisconsin where her family was able to pick her up.
This whole morning was about just kind of getting it together. She doesn't want this to be about her. This is about everyone that is illegally detained.
Now, Sunny was too shaken to speak to us.
You're right. If I might have misspoke, I might have said ICE. It's DHS. Thank you.
Today, after the last couple days that she's been through, we're also still waiting to hear the...
But Kristi Noem is the head of DHS, so when she said we don't detain American citizens, she was speaking for DHS. So I may have misspoke there, but she was speaking for DHS.
Status of the 5 others that were detained with her. We did reach out to DHS for comment, but have not heard back.
There we go. Exactly. Zen Master. ICE is just the Gestapo arm. That's the masked psychopaths. Okay, so I guess we're still doing that. I guess we're still detaining American citizens for a suspicious travel history. What the fuck that means? That now you can't travel freely throughout the world without being detained here? They've moved on to we don't target civilians as we target civilians. That's right. Well, we don't target them, but we just do anyways. Listen, actually, I'm not even going to address that. The voter ID people, you guys, let it go. Why don't I want voter ID? I'll answer that question. Why should I? Why should I want additional steps to vote when there's no problem? It's the same thing. Like if you said why everybody should have to have an ID to buy bread. Why? What's the problem that we're solving here? What problem are you solving with voter ID? We'll stop this for a second. Well, I'll ask you guys. What is the problem that having voter ID will solve? It's not an additional step. It's like that. No, it's not. You don't need to show ID to vote. What is it though? What's the problem that we're solving here? It is an extra step. I don't have to show my ID to vote. That's an extra step. Fraud? Well, there's no fraud though. Where's the fraud? Trigger Mike, this is the problem that you guys have. Like you're addressing a problem that doesn't exist. You're adding additional steps for a problem that literally doesn't exist. What's the problem you're fixing? Just ignoring the new evidence of voter fraud. Which new evidence, JSEX? Point to the new evidence. JSEX is going to talk about Georgia and even though we've corrected him like a million times, he still thinks that that's evidence of voter fraud. What's the problem? Show me a state. Show me evidence of voter fraud. We'll have this discussion. But you're asking people to take additional steps, which can cost people money. It'll cause poor people disproportionately who may not need a driver's license or a photo ID to go out and get one. A lot of people will just choose not to, and so less people will vote. Where is it then? You guys keep saying, I'm asking you, where the fuck is the voter fraud? Oh, you got to look for it. Where is it? How come you can't tell me where the fuck it is? Give me an example of voter fraud. Close, Dolphin Dave. Heritage found like 100 cases out of 2 billion. No, it was 20 cases out of 2 billion. And the states caught every one of them. You just tell me. Man, isn't that alarming how all these people have this, they want to solve a problem, but they can't tell me what the problem is? Where is it? It's tough for you guys, huh? This is why I've always said, I've always had the contention, if you want to watch a Republican fold, ask them a question. See, and then it's just going to be insults on me. I'm insane. I'm crazy. But none of you are going to answer the question. Where is it? Where's the voter fraud? They didn't catch the fake ballots in the night. That's because those don't exist. That's just a story you've been told. The info's redacted. Yeah, it's in the Epstein files somewhere. Where is it, guys? Come on. You got this. Where? Pick a state. Show me a city. Give me an instance. Give me an example of voter fraud, please. Okay, Drummer, you said they caught it a year later after the fucking votes counted. Where? Where did they catch voter fraud? Tell me the state. Tell me the county, Drummer. You're getting closer. Nick, I just explained this. First of all, you have to prove your citizenship to vote already. That already exists. The reason I don't want, I'm not in support of having to show ID or getting a new ID is that will suppress the vote, and there's no evidence that we have a problem with voter fraud. So I'm not in favor of making people jump through additional hoops for no fucking reason. Give me a reason, we might support it. Where was the state where they found voter fraud? I sound exactly like all your liberal friends. Yeah. I ask you questions that you can't answer, so you call us belligerent. Yeah. Saying it doesn't exist doesn't mean, okay, if it doesn't exist, I'm saying it doesn't exist. Tell me where it exists. This is wild in real time. Just reading this. Georgia County, Fulton County. Okay, let's do this. Was there any evidence of voter fraud in Fulton County, Georgia? You have to use ID for Discord, but not to vote, because Discord's a private company, so they can do whatever they want. And they're trying to keep Republicans from abusing children. The two main reasons. No credible evidence of widespread voter fraud has been found in Fulton County, Georgia's 2020 election, despite extensive audits, recounts, and investigations. Multiple hand counts, machine recounts, and state reviews confirmed Joe Biden's victory, with claims like missing ballot images or duplicate ballots explained as clerical errors or non-issues under the then rules. Common claims debunked. Unsigned tabulator tapes affected 315,000 ballots. Admitted procedural violation, but no vote invalidation or fraud. It's a clerical error. Missing ballot images. The law didn't require retentions. There's no missing ballots. Duplicate ballots. 3,000 images. No proof they were double counted or affected the tallies. Whoops. So where's your evidence? Now we've checked this. Do you have an alternative source here I can pull up that says that there was voter fraud there? How come? Yeah, good point. Why did Fox News have to settle a case for just under $1 billion for claiming voter fraud? How'd that happen? If you can't spell Somalis correctly, we don't read your comments. Also, please don't write in all caps. Anybody else? Well, in Arizona, they did 5 recounts, and the 5 recounts that they did, all performed by Republicans, confirmed that Joe Biden won the state and won it by a few more votes than they originally thought. Isn't this pathetic, how you guys will just believe something with no evidence? And look how mad you get, too. How can I lie? I'm just asking you for evidence. What am I lying about? Just believe it, man. Just believe it. That's what you got to do. Guy said, I like this one. DNC Warriors said, arrest Elon, he will sing. Thanks, Jay, for all you do. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then Christy said, the U.S. has never held traitors accountable. Oh, I think I got that one already. Let's check with Jen here real quick. Jamar said, iRobot, Eagle Eye, Surrogates, Transcendence. We don't need AI that bad. Who killed the electric car for movie night? I don't know if I've seen that. No? All right. I don't remember what clip this is now. What clip was this? We didn't even start. This was, oh yeah. Let's talk about Ed Martin. Ed Martin is a name that you shouldn't know, but you've probably heard because he causes a lot of headaches. Kristen said, Antifa Tuesday, love you guys, fuck Tex.
Break down for our viewers what's going on with these ethics charges and what's the DOJ saying?
Vlad, Ed Martin is not a household name, but he's really working on it by amassing controversy after controversy from a relatively obscure position inside the U.S. Department of Justice. He is responsible for less than 1% of the work in that agency, but he is responsible for a growing percentage of the headlines. According to ethics investigators in Washington, D.C., in the District of Columbia itself, Ed Martin sent a letter to Georgetown University last month in which he threatened to strip the university of its internships or other placements inside the Department of Justice for its students or for its associates because he said he'd learned Georgetown was teaching DEI. Didn't really specify what that means or what constitutes teaching DEI, but he listed that as the reason. The ethics investigation found issues with him using his power and his position and the Department of Justice's might itself to try to go after.
Just think about that. The Department of Justice, Ed Martin, is threatening Georgetown for teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion. Republicans that are here, could you pick one of those words and tell me why you've got a problem with it? Why you have a problem with diversity? Why equity is a bad word to you? Why inclusion is a bad word? For J-Sex, we know. J-Sex says good. J-Sex is mediocre as fuck. And J-Sex is a mediocre as fuck person who is afraid of competition. And so J-Sex would like everybody who has an appetite for success, who is going to Georgetown, who might not look like him. J-Sex is threatened by those people. J-Sex has some real issues, which therapy could help. You don't need to be such a bitch all the time. But what's the problem with diversity, equity, or inclusion? See, there it is. DEI is terrible. Stop. What's terrible about diversity, equity, or inclusion? Well, maybe they're not bad words. That's fair, Matthew. But why are we suing them then for teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion? It is, and accessibility, but I think he's specifically, obviously, the Republicans have a problem. We know what the real problem is. We know why Ed Martin has a problem with this. It's not about accessibility for him. It's about diversity, equity, and inclusion. He doesn't like diversity. He doesn't want equity because he believes that if there is equity, then that somehow means he loses something. And inclusion makes him look even worse, even more mediocre. Yeah, that's basically what they think, Nanya. I'm with you. No answer? Okay, cool.
A private university without due process. The Department of Justice has responded to this action by the Ethics Board in D.C., arguing that Ethics Board and the D.C. bar agency responsible for it is politicized and that it's showing itself to be political. And
if you're not racist, it's politicized. If you support equality, it's political. Everything this administration does, every time they do something shitty, it's like they just blame the other people. You're politicized. Oh, okay. The attacks on DEI aren't politicized?
They say they're trying to target and punish those serving President Trump. They also make an argument that a similar scrutiny should have been placed to those who worked under Presidents Biden and Obama. This is not a criminal case. This is not a criminal matter, but it does raise the profile further of Ed Martin, who, among other things, is helping President Trump issue all those pardons.
Oh, all those corrupt pardons. Cool. He's the one that's responsible for all these fraudsters being pardoned. Forced DEI is discrimination against the ones that they are not pandering to. How would forced DEI be discrimination? Can you explain that to me? Diversity, equity, and inclusion means that when you go out to hire somebody or you accept people into your school, that you have to consider all applicants. And you cannot consider their race or their gender or their political beliefs or their disabilities. You have to include everybody. You can't single people out based on immutable characteristics. So can you explain to me how expanding the pool of applicants is discriminatory? Unless once the pool of applicants is expanded, you become less desirable because you're mediocre. It does not mean hiring somebody based on their race and not their merit. You're dumb. Diversity, equity, inclusion means exactly that. It's about those practices are put in place for applications and for hiring. And it simply means that you are going to increase the pool of people that you're considered. And it also means that the pool, they all have to be qualified. There's no different set of qualifications. So if you're a black or brown person and you're applying for a job and you have no qualifications, they do not have to consider you because you are a black or brown person. However, if you do have the qualifications, they do need to consider you. They cannot rule you out because you are a black or brown person. This is what happens when you vote for dumb fuck racists who lie to you all the time. You're convinced that diversity, equity, and inclusion somehow are predatory towards you. This is why people call you racist, because what you're doing right now is you're mislabeling what DEI was. You're talking about hiring quotas, which is not part of DEI, or application quotas, which is not part of DEI. You'll notice, you know what hasn't been ruled unconstitutional? DEI. Isn't that weird? No court cases? Can't win a court case on DEI? Why is that? Because you're going to go into court and you're going to say this is discriminatory. And the defendants are going to say, okay, can you explain how this is discriminatory? We're hiring for a professor role. Okay. And so in this role as a professor, we take all qualified applicants, regardless of race, gender, religion, disability. As long as you have the qualifications, we will consider you. Then what's the prosecution going to say? Yeah, but when you expand it, less white people get hired. Isn't that meritocracy? I think what you guys are very afraid of is just simply being mediocre. Meritocracy is a scary thing for some of you. When you expand the pool of applicants, suddenly you don't look that impressive. You can't, if you don't believe you're racist, but you're saying shit like this, that DEI is racist and it attacks white people, I would just ask you to reconsider and go look at what DEI is. And then when you find out what DEI is, because you're not going to believe me, then revisit your opinion. And then think about, is that why people called me racist? Because I looked at DEI and I said that means that unqualified applicants are getting jobs because of the color of their skin. And then revisit maybe Charlie Kirk was racist. Maybe he was a racist that whole time. DEI does prioritize race and gender. How? How does it do that? If you're just expanding it, how does it prioritize race and gender? Who said that? Get your name there so I can watch for it. Sangelis, how does it prioritize race and gender? You are completely dishonest. See, every fucking time with these fucking losers, I ask you a question and you insult me instead of answering it. How come none of you can answer a question? Sangelis, you have one chance to answer this question. How does it do that? If you don't answer the question, we're going to get heavy on the mute button today and you'll get muted for 24 hours. If I stop the show for you, you got to answer the question. How does it prioritize women and I think you said black people and women? I didn't call everybody racist. In fact, I said the opposite of that. I said, maybe this is why people call you racist. If you're not racist, maybe you should get the definitions right and people won't call you racist. Also, make sure disabled people are considered. Yeah, thank you. Where did Sangelis go? It's going to run? Isn't it crazy how this happens literally every time? How many times do you think Republicans have to watch this before they realize they don't have answers to anything? You are dishonest because you know they're... Okay, great. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. 24-hour mute for Sangelis. Just going to insult me instead of answering the questions. That's good. All right, let's talk about an actual racist, though. This is Andy Ogles, Tennessee representative, and he's a bitch. Tweeted this out yesterday. Muslims don't belong in American society. Pluralism is a lie. I guess maybe not racist. That's bigotry, Islamophobia. Then, like all the people in the chat every single day, once he got some pushback, cried about it. Axios said disgusting shit. Representative Andy Ogles, anti-Muslim post sparks furious internal backlash. Ogles then said, my comments wouldn't even be a news story if I had said this about Christians. Yeah, it would. Are you out of your fucking mind? It wouldn't be a news story if a member of Congress tweeted out that, let's just change the wording here. This wouldn't be a news story if a member of Congress tweeted, Christians don't belong in American society. Pluralism is a lie. Yeah, but Republicans would call that treason. It would be the only thing they talked about. Please spare me your moral outrage, cry harder, Christ is king. Now, this is code for I'm a white nationalist. This is white nationalist. Every time you see this in the chat, this is what they chant now, is Christ is king. That's what bigots do when they hide behind Jesus. And then it gets to Mike Johnson, and Mike Johnson has the most tepid, bitch-ass response possible. because Republicans will never admit that anything is ever racist, even when it's or bigoted, even when it's obviously bigoted. Sorry, it takes a second for him to respond to this. Oh, by the way, Republicans decided to leave Congress and shut it down and go hang out with Trump in Doral to watch him play golf. So our tax dollars are not being used right now. They're all just down on a golf vacation at Doral with Trump. Sorry, can't hear the question. It's coming. The only clip I can find.
Look, I've spoken to those members and all members, as I always do, about our tone and our message and what we say. There's a lot of energy in the country and a lot of popular sentiment that the demand to impose Sharia law in America is a serious problem. That's what animates this, and that's the.
Where is Sharia law being practiced in America? What lawmaker is proposing Sharia law? For the Republicans here, because this is your dude. Could you give me one example of a Republican or a Democrat or anybody in this country proposing Sharia law? This is what Republicans do. It's the same thing that they do with voting. They make up a fear. They make up something that's not happening. It's always based on somebody's religion or skin color or ethnicity or the fact that they're a woman, and they pretend that it's somehow an attack. Can somebody just show me a single person in elected office that is calling for Sharia law, which, by the way, I would vehemently oppose? I'm not in favor of Sharia law as the law of this land, just like I'm not in favor of Christian nationalism. Dearborn, no, that's a city, dipshit. I need a name of a politician who wants Sharia law. Playing prayers over a loudspeaker is not Sharia law. It's just allowing people to practice their religion. Same way that churches have loud bells. Same way we play Christmas music around Christmas that talks about Jesus. I call for Shakira law. Hell yeah. I'm all in on that too. Watch, there won't be an answer. There will be a lot of insults directed at me. Okay, I've been to Dearborn, Michigan. I've been to Houston, Texas. None of them are, there's not a single politician there that's advocating for Sharia law. This is another made up fear because you guys are such pussies. It's crazy. You are so afraid of everything. You're the most fear-driven human beings on earth. Oh no, Muslims are praying. What's happened to our country? People are you're mad that people are praying? That's a threat to you? People praying is a threat? Yeah, one mosque and they think they're under attack. Exactly. Okay, cool.
The language that people use, it's different language than I would use, but I think that that's a serious issue. Sharia law and the imposition of Sharia law is contrary to the U.S. Constitution.
But it's not happening. And nobody's even trying to make it happen. Legitimately, we ask for all of your examples are the existence of Muslims. So when we go back, like Andy Ogles takes the mask off here. Oh, that's go back here. Andy Ogles takes the mask off. But can you tell me the difference between what Mike Johnson and the chat is saying and this? Muslims don't belong in American society. Pluralism is a lie. Okay, what's the difference between what he's saying, what the chat's saying, what Mike Johnson is saying? Because what you guys are saying is the existence of Sharia law is the existence of Muslims. Now, I'm an atheist, and I fucking hate religion. I don't like Islam. I don't like Christianity. I don't like Judaism. I'm allowed to have that opinion. What I'm not allowed to do is tell you that you don't get to practice your Christianity. What I'm not allowed to do is tell you that you don't get to practice your Judaism. What I'm not allowed to do is tell you that you don't get to practice Islam. You're allowed to do that. We're all allowed to have different opinions. But what you guys are calling Sharia law is literally the existence of Muslims exercising their freedom of religion in this country. There's no daylight between what Andy Ogle said, what you guys are saying, and what Mike Johnson is saying here. You're all saying the exact same fucking thing. That the existence of Muslims is problematic. You having to see Muslims is problematic, and you view it as a threat. You cowardly little bitches. You've got to toughen the fuck up at some point.
Our Constitution is the greatest in the world. It's the longest surviving Constitution on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, you're allowed to practice your religion within reason, right? So if your religion instructs you to break the law, you can't do that. Which, by the way, anything that you're afraid of that fundamental or radical Islamists do, the things that you're afraid of, that's already against the law in this country. Right? Like I grew up Mormon. There's fundamentalist Mormons in the southern part of my state. Warren Jeffs believed in child marriage. How'd that work out? Well, he's in prison. Why? Because child marriage is illegal. That's why. So could he practice it? And what was his defense? I'm just practicing my religion. All the stuff that you guys are afraid of with Sharia law, which, again, most people don't practice. Most Muslims don't practice the version of Sharia law that you're claiming. Those things are already illegal. So so really, it boils down to you're afraid of people practicing a religion that you view as opposition to your religion.
Planet, and we're 250 years into this grand experiment in self-governance. And one of the principles that we
believe... difference between Shakira law and Republicans is that Shakiras don't lie. Good point. Good point. What's better than pansies on a piano? Tulips on your organ. Thank you. Corvette girl.
Believe in, stated first in the nation's birth certificate, is that all of us are created equal by God. It means every single person has inestimable dignity and value. And
okay, I like that. I like that, Mike.
And that we respect everyone's beliefs and their right to live out their beliefs and to speak freely about their beliefs and have...
Okay, now we got a problem with this chat here, because what Mike is saying is that everybody has the right to practice their beliefs. What the chat is saying is that is a direct threat on them because in Dearborn, Michigan and in Houston, people are openly practicing their religion. So now we've got a disconnect here. So is Mike Johnson too woke for you guys? Mike Johnson saying you have that freedom, that's too woke for you? Fucking everybody knew Mike Johnson was too woke. We knew it all along.
That conviction. But when you when you seek to come to a country and not assimilate, but to impose Sharia law is in conflict with the U.S. Constitution.
Once again, nobody is doing that. This doesn't exist. Nobody's imposing Sharia law.
That is the conflict that people are talking about. It is not
made up conflict.
Not about people as Muslims.
Well, it is because nobody's doing it. And what Andy Ogle, he's responding specifically to Andy Ogle's statement that said, not Sharia law. If we want to go back here, Andy Ogles didn't say a goddamn thing about Sharia law. What he said is Muslims don't belong in American society. And instead of Mike Johnson saying, oh shit, Muslims do belong in American society, Mike Johnson said instead that Sharia law doesn't. So why didn't he just correct Andy Ogles and say that was wrong? Obviously, we oppose Sharia law if that were to be a problem. But why didn't no criticism of Andy Ogles here?
Governance, and one of the principles that we believe in, stated first in the nation's birth certificate, is that all of us are, and that when you seek to come to a country and not assimilate, but to impose Sharia law.
There's that assimilate word. Assimilate to what? If you're assimilating to the United States, and the United States, as Mike Johnson said here, has the freedom of religion, that you don't have to assimilate to other people's religious beliefs. You have to assimilate to the law, which says you can openly practice your religion as long as that religion is not in violation of the law. So it sounds to me like Muslims who are here in this country who have immigrated here, who are just openly praying and going to the church of their choice, it seems to me like they have assimilated.
Sharia law is in conflict with the U.S. Constitution. That is the conflict that people are talking about. It is not about people as Muslims. It's about those who seek to impose a different belief system that is in direct conflict with the Constitution. That's where I think that comes from.
Yeah, but that's not happening. Also, not what Andy Ogle said. He said that Muslims shouldn't be here. So, Mike Johnson, as per usual, just cowardly backing out of the easiest thing in the world. Like, it should be so easy to condemn Andy Ogles. Yeah, that was fucked up. He shouldn't have said that. That should have been so easy. But Mike Johnson's like, well, it's more nuanced than that. Let's pretend it was about Sharia law and not about Islamophobia. Alfredo says, fuck these lizard brain maggots. I wouldn't fuck them if I was you. I would steer clear of that if I were you. All right. And now I want to show you the difference between a person who can separate their own religion and welcome other people's religions. And this is why Mamdani is the future of America. And people like Mamdani are the future of America. This is Mamdani's response now to the violence that took place in New York City, first by Jake Lang and then by the protesters who I don't, people have said that I haven't verified this. So I'm just going to say this is unverified because I don't know. But I think somebody said that they were inspired by ISIS. They certainly shouted Allahu Akbar, which is, a pretty normal thing for an Islamic terrorist to shout. So that makes sense to me. But I haven't actually seen that confirmed. So I'm just saying what I've heard other people say here. But Mamdani, who is a practicing Muslim in a city that is predominantly not practicing Muslim, where you have a lot of people practicing Judaism and Christianity and a lot of non-religious people, this is how you answer a question as a leader in this country who believes in religious freedom.
So given that both of the alleged attackers at Gracie said they were inspired by ISIS, and given New York City's sort of perennial status as a soft target, I was wondering if you had any, words of advice to any young people.
Thanks for the gifted sub, Everyday Insanity.
Who might find themselves being drawn to that particular ideology.
I think first and foremost, just to make it clear to everyone that extremism and hatred of any kind will not be tolerated in our city. And that is regardless of whatever ideology motivates any person to commit an act of violence. There is no tolerance for it here. What we want to deliver to New Yorkers is a city.
That's such an easy answer. It's such an easy answer. I almost feel bad like celebrating Mamdani for saying the right answer that is so simple. No matter what your religious beliefs are, if your religious beliefs lead you to do extreme things like committing acts of violence, we have no tolerance for that. How's that not every politician's answer? How does Mike Johnson fuck up that bad? Oh, I remember. Because he's the Republican Speaker of the House, and it's full of bigots. And so he can't piss people off by pointing out that they're bigots, which is the crazy thing about bigots, is that they're all bigots, but they're such bitches if you call them bigots. I'm going to say bigoted things. Oh, that was bigotry. How dare you accuse me of that? All right. Jennifer said, I call for sativa law. I'm in favor of that. Look, sativa law could fix this country overnight.
That is safe, is a city that believes in the values where everyone who calls it home is considered to be a part of it. There is no tolerance for any kind of violence within that vision of our city or the way in which we lead this city.
Thanks.
For anybody citing the Quran, we're not going to do this. We're not going to cite the Quran because then we're going to have to cite the Bible. And the Bible also tells people to do horrific shit. Yes, this is why I think religion is all fucking dumb. This is why I think it's really fucking dumb to have your entire identity tied to a book that tells you to do weird fucking shit, and then you pick and choose which parts of that book to believe. That's what Muslims do too, right? There's horrific stuff specifically in the Old Testament, like justifiable rape, justifiable incest, justifiable murder, right? There's a lot of stuff. And in fact, keep in mind that the Muslims also believe in the Old Testament. Jewish people also believe in the Old Testament. You have shared scripture that says horrific things. That's why I don't like it in general. I don't think that you can follow the Bible to a T and be a good person, because you're going to wind up justifying a bunch of shit, specifically the Old Testament. So that's why I don't want to get into it. Well, the Quran says, the Torah says, the Old Testament says, because there's shit in there for all of it. I use this story all the time, but let's talk about the story of Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah. And Lot's told that the city of Sodom and Gomorrah is going to be destroyed because God was so fucking worried about what people were doing with their genitals and which holes they were putting their penises in. So God's like, I gotta ruin this city. Which, by the way, no evidence that ever happened. And so he's like, Lot, you got to get out of here. And by the way, I'm going to set this weird arbitrary rule. And this is what Muslims, Christians, and Jews all believe in, right? This story's in all of their doctrine. And so on their way out, he's like, but if you got to go, and if you look back, you're fucked. They're going to turn you into a pillar of salt. And he's like, gets his family. He's like, guys, we got to get out of here. God's really worried about who people are having sex with, and that's very important. Very important for God to dictate how people have sex. So, and you all get that because, we're the good ones. So we're going to leave. But don't look back. You can't look back. Why not? Well, because God said so. It's super important for some reason to not look back. So they're going. And Lot's wife's like, oh, I'm going to miss my city. Looks back. Boom, pillar of salt. Fuck. God killed his wife for looking at a city? Damn, that's tough. That's a tough deal. But all right, we can move past that. We could move past this just God who just murdered somebody and turned them into salt for looking at a city. That's pretty fucked up. And then Lot's like, God damn it, I guess, girls, we got to go. Just takes his daughters. Like, we're going to go trot out into the wilderness. They get out into the wilderness, and they're living in the wilderness. And then his daughters are like, this sucks. We're all alone, and we wanted to have children. And they're like, what should we do? And then they're like, I've got an idea. What if we get our dad drunk, and then we take advantage of him, and he can impregnate us, and then we can have children? And that's how Lot's family lineage continued on. And that's Christians, that's you. Jews, that's you. Muslims, that's you. That's in your book. So if we're gonna pick and choose shit in the book, let's do it. It's all weird. It's all fucking weird. And history, there is a history of Muslims and Jews and Christians taking stuff from the Old Testament and justifying their bad behavior on religious beliefs. I don't think I've talked about this in a long time, but raise your hand if you know the name Lori Vallow. If you don't know the name Lori Vallow, you can go on Netflix. There's this documentary about her called "Sins of Our Mother," or "Sins of My Mother." Her son was the person that was like, I guess he was the main, character. I knew Lori Vallow. Lori Vallow was Mormon. I was Mormon. Lori Vallow's niece was married to my business partner and one of my closest friends. And Lori Vallow, all of a sudden, got very, very into her religion. And she started really going back into the Old Testament. And then she started saying things like, oh, I lived in a previous life. I don't remember who she said she was from the Old Testament. But I think she might have thought she was Mary Magdalene as well. I can't remember. She just started having all these visions, and she told my friend's wife, come along with us, and started taking her to the Mormon temple, and they would fast for 2 or 3 days at a time. And then they'd sit there and they'd hallucinate, and they had all these visions. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, surprising to all of us, because my friend had a good marriage, his wife came to him and she's like, "You're gay. God told me you're gay." He's like, "I'm not gay, but I don't know why that's a big issue." She's like, "You have two options. You can either admit to me that you're gay and we'll work on it, or I'm divorcing you." And he's like, "Well, I'm not gay. I love you. I love our family." And when I say that my friend, he's the best husband I've ever seen in my life. There is nobody that I've ever seen in my entire life that does more or cared more about his family. He would drop anything at any time to do the dumbest shit for his wife. There were times that we lost money as a business because he had to drive 40 minutes from where we worked to take his wife Chick-fil-A because she wanted it. Right? So he was a good guy. Anyways, he's like, "Well, I'm not gay." She's like, "Fine, I'm divorcing you." And then 3 weeks later, as he's moving into his new home, he's been in this home for 3 days. He pulls into the driveway. And as he's about to pull into the driveway, he sees this gate of a Jeep lift up and a gun barrel come through the gate of a Jeep, and it fires at him. And it just misses his head, by millimeters, misses his head. And that was Lori Vallow's brother, Alex. Alex killed Lori Vallow's husband. You can look this up. His name was Charles Vallow. If anybody wants to look it up, it's in Chandler, Arizona. And then Lori very quickly got together with this other man, and his wife all of a sudden died in her sleep out of nowhere. And then she got with this guy, and her 2 kids went missing. And everybody's like, where are your kids? She's like, I'm not telling. And this went on for like 8 months. She had an 18-year-old, and I think her son was like maybe 10 or 11. I can't remember how old JJ was, but he was autistic. And eventually they found the kids buried in her new husband's yard. Eventually they found that Lori Vallow was responsible for trying to kill my friend. And she did it based on what she was reading out of the Old Testament. So this is not unique to Muslims. This happens with religious fundamentalists, and especially when you have people who are mentally unstable, who put themselves in a position to believe and start accepting that violence is okay. And they had charts. They literally, like, they found now charts of like, they would rank people on a light or a dark scale. And my friend is on the dark scale. He was like a D4, I think it was like D4, so he was allowed to be, like, he had to be killed. What they said is that like zombies took over their body. And so he was actually already dead. What they had to kill was the zombie. What they really wanted was his insurance money. And his own kids were on that list. And knowing that his own kids were on that list and Lori had killed her own kids, that's obviously a very scary thing for him. He was hiding all over the country. A couple of friends of mine, like we just gave him credit cards, and he didn't tell us where he went, and he just used our credit cards all around the country, and he was hiding with his kids because he's worried about his kids' lives. When he would come here occasionally, wouldn't tell anybody, like he had to come get his kids' records. Like we're driving around armed to the teeth. Like we're driving around, which I don't know, that's not a crime in Arizona, with like loaded weapons. And that, like, it was legitimately that scary. We thought at any point somebody might try and take us out too. That's how crazy they were. So when you say these things about Muslims and you generically ascribe what radical Muslims have done in the name of their God, I just have to remind you that we do it too. We're doing it right now in Iran. We do it all the fucking... It's why, Israel does it. These religious wars are fucking sick. And when you play into that by demonizing Muslims for the actions of a very, very small minority of Muslims, and you refuse to do that with Christians, then we're forced to just say this is bigotry. You want to talk about abusing children? Okay. Let's talk about Trump's spiritual advisor who's in prison right now for abusing children. Should we talk about that? Should we talk about Matt Gaetz? Should we talk about the Catholic Church? Should we talk about the Mormon Church? Should we talk about the Boy Scouts who were linked to Christian churches all over this country? Should we talk about Tim Tebow's testimony in saying that overwhelmingly the people who traffic and abuse children are white, Christian, conservative men? Should we talk about? No, we can't talk about that. It's only Muslims that are bad. I agree with you. Radical Islamists who believe that they have a call from God to enact jihad, it's sick, it's wrong. I'm not in favor of it. Fuck them. But I hold that same view for the Zionists that I watched in Palestine raid villages of Gazans, slaughter their animals, burn down their houses, murder men, women, and children, all in the name of Judaism. I'm not even talking about the IDF. I'm talking about the roving gangs of Zionists. Got a problem with that too. And I've got a problem with Andy Ogles. I have a problem with all radical, violent sects of any religion. And if you find yourself only able to criticize one of those religious sects, would be due to the radical nature of the people in that religious sect, then I've got a problem with you too. And you should have a problem with you. That's not honest. Radical religious people are a problem. And the reason that those exist is because the book itself is deeply fucking flawed. But you're not allowed to admit that, which is why you guys get settlers. Yeah, I said Zionists, but settlers. Which is why you guys get so fucked up. Which is why you won't criticize Christians who do the same shit. Why? Because by criticizing them for what you would say is misinterpreting the Old Testament would be an admission to yourselves that the book itself is not perfect. or that the religion itself is not perfect, which it obviously isn't. We are in a legitimate religious war. The leaders of our country, the leaders of our military, and many members of elected office are saying that we are fighting Iran to bring on Armageddon, to bring on the second coming of Jesus Christ. That's fucking crazy. You're justifying the murder of innocent people over and over again for a goddamn book that all three religions involved agree with. They all think that's the book. That's part of all of their doctrine. You cannot criticize radical Islamists and not criticize radical Zionists or Christian fundamentalists. You can't. It's all the exact same fucking thing. Just they practice differently than you. And this is a real way. This is a real way that you can get fucked up in religion. Is religion teaches you to trust the people only who share your religious beliefs. I grew up in Utah. I've explained this many times. But because of where I grew up, it might be a little different now. I'm sure the demographics have changed. I haven't lived there since for 15 years, maybe more than that. But I went to high school, and I was at a big school. It was one of the bigger schools in the state. And I knew 3 people in my high school that were not Mormon. 3. Multiple people in my vicinity have then and since then been caught abusing children, abusing women, stealing, murder, drug running, distributing, CSAM, all that stuff. And you know why they were able to get away with it for so long? Because everybody assumed that because they shared the same religion, that they would never do those things. There's a great show on, I think it's on Netflix. Somebody could help me out with this story, but it's a Mormon family, and this guy infiltrates their family and starts abusing their daughter. And when the parents find out about it, and he's a member of their religion, when the parents find out about it, the guy sleeps with the husband and the wife too, and manipulates them. And he's able to abuse their daughter with them knowing about it. And nobody in town really figures it out because they're all the same religion. You can say the same thing about Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. They were protected because Chad was a Mormon author and viewed as a great man. What's that? Ted Bundy. If you know anything about Ted Bundy had some victims in Salt Lake City, and those were some of his easiest victims because he joined the Mormon Church. Kidnapped in Plain Sight. That's the name of it. Thank you, guys. But Ted Bundy joined the Mormon Church when he moved to Salt Lake City, and that gave him access to young women, and they saw him as a convert. So, if you know anything about Mormons, there's nothing they like better than somebody who wasn't Mormon who becomes Mormon, because it validates themselves, and they view this person as unfucking believable. We've even seen it politically. There's some people that you guys could probably think of on TikTok that. And people get mad at Adma for this too, and the distrust is there for a reason. But people that switch sides, a lot of people hold them at arm's length. I don't know about this. Are you manipulating me? But it made it super easy for Ted Bundy. And when you act like this, when you have this type of ideology and you proceed with this type of ideology, you're setting yourself up to be easily deceived. And that's where we're at now, where we're at war for no fucking reason other than we don't like somebody else's religion. And you think that we're the good guys because we share, the people in charge share your religion. We're not. We're not the good guys. Abducted in plain sight. Oh, yeah, abducted in plain sight, not kidnapped. Thank you. Yeah, look at the Duggars, Ruby Frankie. There's all sorts of documentaries about this. I love the Mormons. I think they're nice to the environment. I don't know. They're pretty Republican. I don't know how nice they are to the environment. It's not over religion? Okay. Well, Count Nerpula, when I show you clips here, of our government officials saying it's about religion, I want you to just remember that. Pete Hegseth says it's about religion. There's been whistleblowers coming out of the military saying that this is a religious war. So, I mean, you decide. And when you say it's about oil, it could be both, right? It could be multiple reasons, but some people are fighting this war because they believe it's a religious war. All right, moving on here. Jesus, I ranted for a long time. Let me go. I'm going to skip that. Here's a good introduction, actually. This is Ohio County Commissioner Drenda Creese. Kesey. Her name is, I've never heard anybody named Drenda before. Again, elected Republican. Not on a federal level, but this is an elected Republican.
This is not just an Iranian strike. This is a network strike. This has ramifications across the Middle East and in time ramifications as well. But this is just, I believe, the beginning of the end. This signifies what we've known has been coming as believers. We see the signs of the times. We've seen the falling away. We've seen church leaders being attacked. We've seen persecution in America of the church that we've never really seen to this degree.
What persecution has the Christian church faced?
And now Iran attacked Israel a year ago. We've seen all of these skirmishes.
Israel attacked Iran, and Iran attacked back. Just rewriting history now? I'm sorry. Us and Israel attacked Iran, and then Iran attacked back. But it hit Israel, by the way, not us.
Skirmishes happening, but Iran was never even considered in this debate or war. But if you read Ezekiel 37, you'll see Iran is talked about there, and that Iran comes in on the final scenes toward the end of what we call the beginning of a rapture and the end times, leading to us to the war of Armageddon. So Gog and Magog, we are on the precipice of that.
They're like openly celebrating this. Johnny Longtrail, good to see you, said, have you heard about these new corduroy pillows? They're making headlines. And our earth may heal when religion is gone. Truth might set us free. Let's hope. I'm a big fan of if people willfully abandon their religion, but I don't think we should force it. I would like it, though, if we would abandon religion. Wake up! That's what all Jesus people say. Wake up! What that really means is they believe bullshit and they are upset when other people don't believe bullshit and they don't have a good argument for it. So they just claim that you just can't see. Are you being woke over there? Are you asking us to be woke? Here's Rand Paul, one of a handful of Republicans with any principles at all. And this isn't religious based, but it is a reminder that we can't afford shit in this country right now. And we're running up massive amounts of debt. And since nobody can, still to this point, nobody can tell us what the imminent threat was with Iran, we are fighting an unjust war currently and spending billions of dollars a day. Here's Rand Paul.
And so I don't want to weaken our country further. I think we've gotten overextended. This is our second war in a month. And these wars are very, very expensive, not only in the lives that are lost, but also in treasure. And so, no, I'm very, very concerned about the debt. It's been my number one focus for
yes,
some
Muslims
time
believe
now.
bullshit too.
And $500 billion.
I'd like to point out once again, all religions specific. I mean, I don't know much about Buddhism, so I don't know. But like every religion that includes the Old Testament, they all believe bullshit. I have no problem criticizing religions equally.
To the military budget is fiscally irresponsible.
Fiscally irresponsible in the face of China on the march, China undermining the United States at every turn, Russia continuing its assault on Ukraine, Iran, North Korea. So when you look at the world that we are faced with in terms of the reality that we're in, you still won't budge on.
What is the reality that we're in? What's the threat? Iran doesn't like Israel? Oh, I wonder why. Israel just keeps bombing them? Will said DEI equals condemning all violent extremists equally. I love that. Yeah, I will.
Increasing money for the military in this changing backdrop.
Well, to put it into perspective, we currently spend more on our military than the next 10 countries combined. So while there are threats we face around the world, and while we should combat and check China around the world, we spend 4 times more than they do. But we spend more than the next 10 countries combined. So our military budget is not inadequate. It is enormous. But to increase it by 50% in one fell swoop, to add another $50 billion, this is the debate that we will have. War's not free. It's not free in terms of lives, but it's also not free in terms of dollars. We are swimming in a sea of debt, and this debt will be, we're not in danger of foreign soldiers coming to the United States. We are in danger of the debt that the military-industrial complex is incurring on us. We are in danger that that debt will drag us down.
Senator, your colleague Lindsey Graham says it's not the time to talk about money right now because we need to defeat the enemy, but that's besides the point. I've got to ask you about another issue here.
All right, we can end it there. That's fair. Creamy, you said I haven't been criticizing them equally. I've been extra hard on Christianity. Yeah, I live in America. Radical Christians are a much bigger threat than radical Muslims or radical Jews in America. Like the biggest threat here at home is radical Christians. So that makes sense, right? If I lived in Iran, I probably wouldn't spend much time criticizing radical Christians. I'd probably spend all my time criticizing radical Muslims. But here in this country, it's radical Christians are a much bigger threat. Like, for fuck's sakes, there have been threats on my life. I've had my life threatened hundreds of times now at this point doing this job. You know what? You know who it always is? Some fucking Christian. The biggest threat to me and to my family are white Christian men, thin-skinned white Christian men. I have never, and I'll criticize Islam. I've never been threatened by a Muslim doing this job in America. So yeah, I'm going to be extra hard on Christians here because that's a much bigger issue. If we were predominantly Muslim as a country, I would spend far more time criticizing radical Muslims. And by the way, if we were majority Muslim and the leadership that we have in office now was dragging us into war with a Christian nation, and our Secretary of Defense was a Muslim and saying that this was a justifiable jihad, I would have that same criticism. There's no difference to me between a jihad and what Pete Hegseth is saying. Go read his book. He believes the exact same thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's fair to say I'm criticizing Christians more, but that makes sense based on where we live. And this is another conservative thing where we don't believe in criticizing our own country or the people that are with us or our own tribe. We can never get you to criticize Donald Trump. We can never get you to criticize your religion. We can never get you to criticize the military. We can never get you to criticize the police unless the police are locking up people who try and overthrow our government because Joe Biden's a Marxist or whatever the fuck that was about. Then you'll criticize the police. But yeah, I don't like power structures. I don't like ideologues. I don't like groupthink. It's not my favorite thing. So yeah, it makes sense to criticize Christians here, right? All right. Here's something to be aware of, and this is entirely predictable. Before we went to Iran, when Donald Trump was running for office, when I was a Tulsi Gabbard fan, when she was as I was leaving the Republican Party, the first Democrat I really liked was Tulsi Gabbard. I was wrong, but the thing I liked about Tulsi Gabbard is the way that she spoke about regime change wars, and we have the data on regime change wars. They don't work. What regime change wars do is escalate violence, always. They never temper the violence. They create more radical people, and they escalate violence. And what we had previous to the start of this war is no real threat from Iranians. However, we've known for a long time there are Iranian sleeper cells here. We've known that some of these radical groups have sleeper cells in America. Remember 9/11, sleeper cells? We've known that. But that was done by the Iranians. I assumed that if war ever kicked off, they could fuck us up here at home. And now we're starting to hear about sleeper cells being activated. Would they be activated if we didn't bomb them? Probably not, because they weren't activated before.
The federal government's alerting law enforcement agencies Iran may be activating sleeper cells. The alert says the U.S. intercepted encrypted communications that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets. ABC News contributor, former Homeland Security official Elizabeth Newman's here for more on that. Hi, Elizabeth. So you say officials are concerned Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, might have agents inside the U.S. So given that context, how concerning is this new alert, and how are law enforcement agencies monitoring for these potential threats?
Anytime we go to war overseas, there is a homeland threat component to it, especially a country like Iran does not have the capability to beat us militarily. So they rely on asymmetric means. So they will look to use cyber attacks. They will look to use proxies like Hezbollah, criminal agents to try to disrupt things here in the homeland. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing this bulletin. I'm a little concerned that it took a week for this to come out.
I love that. Jason, you got people forced out by Muslims saying that this isn't a Muslim state now. Okay. What's the difference? I'm glad you said that. Muslims don't belong in American society. Pluralism is a lie. What's the difference? This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the exact type of hypocrisy I'm talking about. I don't think people should be removed for not being Muslim. I don't think people should be removed for being Christian, just like I don't think people should be removed for being Muslim. This is the same thing. You're an ideologue. You have no real principles. You're playing a team sport based on a fucking fairy tale. And you want me to be like upset? When you are equally upset by both of those, talk to me. This is the exact same fucking thing. Everything you criticize them for, you are. You are the epitome of hypocrisy. The epitome of it. You're a fucking joke, dude. You sit here for 4 hours every day. Nobody comments more than you. We could show your history. You are a sad, lonely sycophant who sits on live streams all day and begs for the host's attention. And every once in a while I give it to you. And all we expose is that 1, you're a coward, 2, that you're stupid, and 3, that you're an ideologically driven psychopath. Every day. We do it every day. And you come back for more every day because you're lonely, you're sad, you have nothing better to do with your life, and you're an ideologue.
Out. I've talked to a number of state and local partners over the last week. Everybody knew that this is the likely scenario. We go to war with Iran. We should expect that their proxies are
By the way, also pointing out that while we're talking about sleeper cells in the United States from Iran, the CIA has been embedding sleeper cells in Iran at the exact same time. This is what's wrong with Americans in general. If anybody does what we do, they're evil. But the CIA and the IDF have been creating sleeper cells and movements inside of Iran for decades. They openly brag about it. It's only a problem when Iran does it. When we do it, it's fine. It's just. Why? Because we have the right God. We have the Christian God. They have the Muslim God. It's fine when we do it. This is all escalation. And for the record, everything Iran has done has been a reaction. If I walk up to you and I punch you in the face and then you punch me in the face, whose fucking fault was that? It was my fault. I punched you in the face. You have every right to punch me in the face. We all believe that. If I walk into your house in the middle of the night and you shoot me, whose fault was that? Was it yours? No, you're defending your house. I walked in the house. If I go in your driveway and I steal your car and you shoot me or you shoot out the tires or somebody, you ram me, whatever, you chase me around, whose fault is it? Mine. I stole your fucking car. I don't like the Iranian leadership. I don't like the way that the Iranians treat their own people in many instances. But I'm supposed to be outraged that they punch back? Why don't we stop punching people? Why don't we stay the fuck out of their business? Everything we've talked about, everything Iran has done has been a reaction to what we do. This is bully bitch shit. This is why people don't respect America. We go in and we fuck up a whole country and they're like, I can't believe they're mad about that. They are evil. They're a third world country. Yeah, no shit. We bomb the fuck out of them. We steal all their resources. We stage coups when the leadership doesn't give us their resources. We suck. Our foreign policy it ruins the world. The world would be a much more peaceful place if we didn't have decades of the United States and their interventionist policies. We could probably have peace in the world, but not the United States doesn't want that. We have to fuck everybody's shit up in the name of democracy. They have the right to control their own countries. But everything we hate about Iran, everything we're afraid of with Iran, has been direct reactions to what we do to them.
Possibly being activated, and we all need to be on heightened alert.
Former senior CIA field operative Daryl.
Again, defending the Islamic regime, it's crazy. How about our regime? Defending our regime is crazy. It is far more crazy to defend the American regime. Like the Americans have caused way more problems. How many countries have we fucking invaded? We just kidnapped somebody else's leader. We stole their oil tanker. We killed 80 Venezuelans. How the fuck? I'm sorry, like there's no moral equivalency here in terms of like interfering with other countries. Iran is like their record is better than ours. We interfere all the fucking time. We murder innocent people all over this world. We've done it my whole fucking life. I'm tired of pretending that like we're just red, white, and blue, like perfection. We are bullies on a world stage. We are responsible for the destabilization of the Middle East and Africa. We are not the good guys. I'm tired of pretending that we are. The world's tired of us. Like our allies are abandoning us. They don't want to be with us anymore. They're tired of it too. Thank God for the internet where we can expose a lot of this stuff now. But yeah, like you can play, like you can try and tug on people's emotions. I can't believe that you would defend the Iranians. I'm not necessarily defending them. I'm saying like what? We don't punch back when somebody hits us? You wouldn't punch back if somebody hit you? What would you do if you were Iran? Well, I would bend over and take it because it's Donald Trump. That's probably true. You would bend over and take it because it's Donald Trump. I forgot you guys are cocks. My bad.
Blackers here for more. Hi, Daryl. So how do sleeper cells like this work, and what are the biggest concerns?
Sleeper cells like this are typically people who are comfortable in the country in which they're living, even though their priorities might exist, whether with the Soviet state or in this instance, the Islamic Republic of Iran. So these are people who are completely embedded inside the United States. They live here, they work here, they're comfortable here, they speak the language here, but ultimately are waiting for some signal to go out and do some nefarious act.
How do intelligence agencies work to stop sleeper cell threats?
So you start to look for what we call indications and warnings, any type of signal that might suggest that these guys are part of some type of cell that the intelligence community might be aware of and law enforcement now, but the average person would not.
The federal government's alerting law enforcement.
He's putting this war and Donald Trump putting us in jeopardy all over the world. This happened at the U.S. consulate.
What time do you believe the shooting actually happened?
In Toronto.
We believe the shooting happened at 4:30, around 4:29, in fact. And then someone called in at 5:30. Exactly. Or actually, an officer was flagged down. So there was a gap. This is why when we share the time of the event, we would like people to be aware that that would be the time. If you were in this area, if you have dash cam footage, for instance, it would have been around 4:30 or so that we believe the incident to have taken place. Again,
we lost TikTok. Yeah, I know. You can't criticize the United States or Israel on TikTok or you get shut down.
And I'll state that it's early, so investigators are still piecing things together. But this is an early understanding of when we think the timeline may have been.
And to speak light now, police, was that some of the works of the contact?
I don't have that information to share at the moment.
Did both individuals that got out of the vehicle, they both had firearms and both shot at the building? Is that your understanding?
It's unfortunately because the investigation is still very active and early. I can't share that. I can tell you that there was a handgun that was discharged, and that both individuals were involved in that discharge.
And what time do you believe the shooting?
Cool. So now our consulates are less safe. That's pretty cool. Now let's talk about who was talking about morality. Let's talk about morality now, should we? I think I showed this yesterday, but we're going to show it again today.
Weeks since this war with Iran has been underway, the deadliest incident of civilian
Yeah, that was this morning, Lisa Beth.
casualties was a strike that happened on an elementary school in southern Iran. that killed scores of children. Tonight, a CNN analysis of that attack reveals evidence suggesting that the United States military was likely responsible for it. What you're about to see is disturbing. I want to warn you. The United States says it's still under investigation, but this was the scene at the school just after the strikes 1 week ago, nearly. CNN has not independently confirmed the death toll, but Iranian health officials and state media believe that at least 168 children and 14 teachers were killed.
Where's those people talking about morals? Bombing schools?
Our analysis, which is based on satellite imagery, geolocated videos, and the assessment of munitions experts, suggests that this school was hit around the same time that an attack that American forces had launched on a neighboring Iranian naval base. This new satellite image shows several Revolutionary Guard buildings near the all-girls school. You can see how close they are. In red, you can see the craters at the center of the structures, including the school, and what experts say look like precision strikes. A wall, marked by that dotted line there, is all that separates the school and this base. When asked about the strike this week under multiple times during multiple different press briefings, this is what Trump administration officials have told reporters.
Did the United States airstrike a girls' elementary school and kill 175 people?
Not that we know of, Sean, and the Department of...
What do you mean? You're under the assumption the school was intentionally targeted? I don't know if it was intentionally targeted. If it wasn't intentionally targeted, then they are completely inept. I will not justify the murder of children. You will. You good Christian folks will. Sometimes that happens in war, just like Jesus said. Sometimes you gotta fucking kill those kids. It's not our fault. Either we targeted the school or we're entirely incompetent. One of those two.
War is investigating this matter, and I would just tell you very strongly, the United States of America does not target civilians, unlike the rogue Iranian regime that targets civilians, that kills...
Well, I wouldn't say it's both, because if they meant to bomb the school, it's not incompetence, but they are still incompetent. Okay, I see what you're saying. They can still be incompetent and have done it on purpose. I see what you're saying.
Children, that has killed thousands of their own people in the past several weeks, and uses propaganda quite effectively, and unfortunately, many people in this room have fallen for that propaganda.
Can you give us an update on...
Propaganda, she says. Talk about gaslighting. It's pretty expensive to do gaslighting with gas prices where they're headed now.
What the administration knows, what you know now about the reported strike on a girls' school in southern Iran on Saturday?
All I can say is that we're investigating that. We, of course, never target.
Now, this is Thursday. We have some updated information, but
civilian targets, but we're taking a look and investigating that.
Now, the internet blackout in Iran has made...
All right. Now, let's get to Donald Trump obviously lying. Here's what Donald Trump said. Again, I know we saw this yesterday, but I think it's important to replay it here. Lying... If Donald Trump lies and Pete Hegseth doesn't back you up, you know you're fucked. Usually, Pete Hegseth will just lap up anything Donald Trump says.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
Based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Oh, is it war now? I don't understand how war works. I thought it wasn't war. The administration said it's not war. Are you guys changing that now? Is it war? It's not targeted strikes. That's what they said. Targeted strikes. Now it's war.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Was it Iran that did
that? The only side that targets civilians is Iran. We think it was done by Iran. Because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions.
Nobody thinks it was Iran. Donald Trump's the only person that has said it's Iran. And now let's go. I've got to scroll down. Is it Casey? Are you doing this today? I got to go down to number 9 and then a little ways down. Let's see if I find this. Yeah, here was Sean McCreesh yesterday to Donald Trump, and if you haven't seen this, trigger warning. If you thought Donald Trump was dumb before, and you thought he couldn't get dumber, this may trigger you. This is the worst answer I've ever heard in my life. But here's Sean McCreesh asking a very important question.
President, You just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think
I just don't know enough, so I just made some shit up. I'll let it play. I wanted to stop there, and I'll play his answer in its entirety. I don't know enough. You're the fucking president. You're the commander in chief. What do you mean you don't? Are you just saying that you make shit up all the time? That's what we've been accusing you of. You just made that shit up? Somehow Iran got one of our Tomahawk missiles and hit their own school 100 yards from the other 3 buildings that you took credit for bombing? Yeah, for sure. That for sure happened.
Why are you the only person saying this?
because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation, but Tomahawks are
So I just made shit up.
are used by others, as you know.
Not the Iranians.
Numerous other nations have Tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report.
Yo, I just made some shit up and then we'll see what happens. Even Fox News, like Fox News isn't buying it. Here's Jennifer Griffin explaining the absurdity of that comment and how patently false and stupid it is to say that this was Iran. Amy Lynn said, Hegseth, they hit targets precisely, targeted, and accurately. Yeah, apparently not. Super Fam said, have you seen the allegations against Jake Lang? I have not. Will you send them to me? I didn't see anything about Jake Lang this morning. That's not true. I said Tex accused him of being Jewish this morning. So if that's the accusation, I guess.
One of the questions, Jen, in that news conference was about the strike on the girls' school that's next to a base in Iran, and it was a Tomahawk missile. The president saying Tomahawks are used by other countries, but an investigation is ongoing. What do we know about where that stands?
Well, that was a bit surprising to me because basically the U.S. has Tomahawks. Tomahawks have to be fired from either submarines or from warships. The Brits and the Australians have Tomahawks, but they're not part of this conflict. And then you also have the Japanese who are in a testing phase.
So where did Iran get this Tomahawk?
They stole it from the Brits. It's probably the Australians. Anything but Donald Trump being a fucking liar. He wouldn't lie like that.
Or this guy, we started this show a little bit, talking about the lie of Donald Trump's IQ being 165. Then we had it at 65. Then it's 16.5. I don't know what it is, but it's fucking low. And imagine being somebody who believes Donald Trump. That means you have a lower IQ than Donald Trump to believe the obvious lies that he tells and to defend that.
So it seems highly unlikely that it would be anyone's Tomahawk other than a U.S. Tomahawk that hit that school. And I think the president knows that. He just knows that this is certainly a mistake, a big mistake, and it's being investigated, but he's trying to sort of muddy the waters by talking about the Tomahawks.
Yeah, they were one of the questions.
1.65. It might be down to that. Yeah, it's just an obvious lie. We're not going to sit here and take time to pretend that MAGA is going to give a fuck about any of that because we already know that you won't. But like our ability as Americans to spend, I'm 40, right? So my entire life I've watched Americans indiscriminately kill people all across the Middle East with virtually no apology. I've watched us pardon cold-blooded murderers. We've watched over and over as the remnants and the effects of our war, our unsuccessful war on terror in both Iraq and Afghanistan left people mutilated from the burn pits. It left our own soldiers dying. Joe Biden's son died from what he inhaled from the burn pits. Or I guess I don't know if burn pits is the right way. The oil fields burning. The untold millions and millions of lives either significantly impacted or left for dead. The blood on the hands of our leaders in this country is alarming, and there's nobody worse. We are, when it comes to murdering innocent people, we are the worst of the worst. And what we call collateral damage or it's just war is actually cruelty. Now remember, in the Middle East, if you look at a map, there's not a lot of water out there. very dry desert. And in order for these people to exist and to live, they need water, which means they rely on desalinization, which is essentially just a process of taking the salt out of the water and making it fresh water. So naturally, because this is about regime change, this is about helping the Iranian people. Naturally, we're going to strip away their water supply. Here now, Trump on I only have audio on this one, but explaining what we're doing now.
Accused U.S. of getting a desalination plant in Iran, and they said that might open the door to other strikes on infrastructure, non-military.
Must also open the door to other strikes against them.
Look, in response to that allegation, did the U.S. hit the desalination?
They are among the most evil.
Did we hit a desalination plant? Yes, we did. It's confirmed now. Will Trump address that? That this will impact innocent people? Children are going to die? People are going to die of dehydration? Because some people in their government chanted death to America? That's why? That's why we've got to kill innocent people? That's why we have to make it so that people don't have fresh water?
People ever on earth. They cut babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October 7th. Take a look at what they've done.
Those are both lies from October 7th. At least the one, I don't know about the chopping women in half. I'm not sure where that claim comes from. But the thing about the babies is a lie. It's been debunked. It's not true. But our dipshit in chief, he'll repeat it.
Over the last 47 years. So I know nothing about a desalinization plant other than to say if they're
well, then I guess he's incompetent because we hit it.
Complaining about a desalinization plant, we complain about the fact that they shouldn't be chopping babies' heads off, okay?
Which they didn't, but that was Hamas. That wasn't Iran. So even if that was true, that's Hamas. Those are Palestinians, not Iranians. So we can knock out their desalinization and have children die because some people in Palestine are accused of doing something that has been debunked. That's why I say America's the worst. We're justifying the mistreatment of innocent people based on a debunked lie. Cool. That's a good point, too. Israel also has funded Hamas. Thank you, Charles Casey. Yeah, just like Iraq was part of 9/11. Exactly. Just like they had weapons of mass destruction. God damn. Benjamin Netanyahu, if hell exists, he's straight to hell. Of course, MAGA support this because they believe that this is a religious war. They hate Muslims. They've been indoctrinated to think that Muslims are there to hurt them. They're never looking inward. Like, what about how we treat Muslims? What about the people in this country? What about Pete Hegseth? Literally, like, we talk about people saying death to America in Iran. Pete Hegseth got drunk and stood on a bar. I believe this one was somewhere in California at an event and said death to Muslims. No, it's different though because they're bad and he's good. So when he says it, it's fine. When they say it, we have to bomb them. Andy Ogles, get rid of all Muslims. We do that. Like, I don't understand how you guys think there's a difference there. Everything that there's not a single thing you can accuse Iran of doing that we haven't done. We can pause for a second in the chat. Can anybody tell me something Iran has done that hasn't been done in the United States? Jason, shut up. I'm tired of Jason.
If you look at the ballistics.
Yeah. If you look at the ballistics, it was a Tomahawk. How'd they get that? Doesn't have any examples there? Just tell me. Just give me an example of something Iran did that we haven't done here in this country. The Iran hostages, taking hostages? that what you're saying, DP? You're saying that Iran has taken hostages? We haven't killed protesters in this country. We had a civil war in this country. All right, let's talk about hostages then. Let's do that. I've got something on that, so we'll go here. This is a former hostage that Iran kept. His name is Tajbaksh. I don't know how to say this. They might say it correctly here. Two things I want to point out here. Number one, it was wrong for Iran to keep a hostage. Number two, this person was a hostage. And it is a little bit silly that then he speaks as an expert on what the Iranian people think.
Now, what I want...
Dow still below 50K. Clear to talk about the e-files. Oh, good. Good. I'm really nervous about it going over 50K, so we can't talk about it anymore.
Is for you to give perspective of who we're dealing with the regime. They imprisoned you. You know their mentality. You know their value system. You know what they see as winning. Do you believe if America just stops and says, okay, you learned your lesson, hopefully you'll be better now, is that wishful thinking?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on, Chris. And I extend a good evening to your guests. Look, my perspective is for...
By the way, what he was arrested for is what MAGA in this chat have suggested we arrest people for all day. He worked for the Open Society Institute, and he was in Iran promoting a change to their government. He wanted the people not to assimilate to Iranian culture. He wanted them to change things in Iran. He was accused of espionage and inciting a velvet revolution and an attempt to overthrow the government, which turned out not to be true, which is exactly what happens here, too, when we accuse people of trying to implement Sharia law and overthrow the government. It's the same shit you guys say about Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Zoran Mamdani. False accusations. You are exactly like them, just a different religion. If tomorrow the Trump administration went and arrested Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and Zoran Mamdani and accused them of trying to overthrow the government and espionage and starting a revolution to institute Sharia law, you would all defend it. You would celebrate it. You would be on this chat right now defending this. You are exactly like them. You just have a different religion.
By my experience as the American citizen longest imprisoned by the Iranian regime. I was arrested and held in the Evin prison, Don. Controlled by our IRG.
Held for a year, by the way. Just remember that. The longest ever held and detained for 1 year.
For over a year. I was in solitary confinement for over 8 months. And I spent many hours discussing with senior and mid-level IRGC officers. The one thing I took away from them, and they told me quite straightforwardly, is that we are ready for a fight with the United States. You know, I said, you're poking the bear. And they said, we don't care. We're not afraid. We are prepared for this. And so this confirmed to me...
What did they do to poke the bear, by the way? What did Iran, just a reminder from MAGA, what did Iran do that forced us to attack them?
A perspective, Chris, which I think I'd like to share with the viewers, which is that, for a lot of Iranians, when they hear that President Trump started a war with Iran, they might respond, and many of them do, that no, they see President Trump as finishing a war that Iran started 47 years ago. Most Iranians that dislike the regime see this regime for what it really is. When it says that...
Okay. Just imagine that there was a group of Muslims who, let's just say Iran attacked us, and that all the Muslims in this country stood up and said, finally, we're tired of living under this regime. Thank you, Iran. You're liberating us from the mistreatment that we've had from these Americans. Certainly you wouldn't justify that, right? And if you saw other countries like, look, some of the people are happy about this, you would be like, so? It's our country. Shut the fuck up. You don't get to attack our country. But if we do it to them, then you use it as justification. There is nothing we've done to Iran that you would accept if somebody did it to us.
Death to America. It's sometimes
death to America. Once again, our leadership says death to Muslims. Secretary of Defense said death to Muslims. Andy Ogles, a sitting member of Congress, is saying get all Muslims out. Same exact thing.
Referred to here as maybe just rhetoric or so forth, but they act on that. And they acted on that with me as an American by imprisoning me and taking other Americans hostage because they do have a principled antagonism against the U.S. So I don't see them capitulating. I don't see them even moving towards compromise. And the selection of this supreme leader leads to only confirm that interpretation.
That's not a slippery slope. It's a reductio ad absurdum is my argument here, right? You take the logic and you apply it to its logical end in the other direction. That's not a slippery slope fallacy. I'm comparing what they do and what we do. It's a pretty common way to test logic there. But while we're talking about that, because obviously Iran is evil, and for the record, I think that what they did to this man was unjust, and I do not support it. But to watch Americans sit quietly by and like, oh, I can't believe this. We don't know the name of Rida bin Salah al-Yazidi, who is a Tunisian. He was detained by the United States in 2002, and he was sent to Guantanamo Bay. And he was there until 2024, 22 years. He was never charged with a single crime. So the longest they ever held somebody, who, by the way, was charged, there were actual charges. He was charged with a crime. They wound up releasing him, was a little over a year. We did it for 22 years. In fact, Obama kind of ran on this, but by 2012, we had internal reports from the United States government saying that there were, at the very least, they found 55 men who were formally cleared for release by the U.S. review process, but they were held at Guantanamo anyways, including Yemenis, Tunisians, Algerians, Chinese, the Uyghurs from Chinese. There was no significant threat. They could identify no significant threat, and many of those remained from 2004 all the way up to 2012 and beyond. Then you look at the 2025 detentions in El Salvador from this current administration, where they found that over 300 people that we sent to El Salvador for life sentences had no criminal connection to any gangs. None. But that's what they were sent there for. So, sorry, Cuomo. Sorry, News Nation. What happened to this man was unjust. But I'm not going to pretend that we don't do that a million times worse. 22 years? 22 years we held a Tunisian man in Guantanamo Bay, which had no oversight, where the conditions were horrific, where people were consistently tortured for information. No charges, 22 years. And we have the audacity to trot people out like this and be like, see how bad Iran is? Yeah, bad. That's bad. What they did was bad. But like we pointed out, so we're worse. You just don't like their religion or what they look like. If we were objective, if we were just giving resume for resume and it was a blind resume, and let's just say you didn't know anything, everybody looking at blind resumes would be like, oh, that's the fucking problem right there. And it would be America. 100% of people. Nobody would see Iran's resume and be like, oh, they're the problem. Nobody would see Afghanistan or Iraq. Fuck, even Israel. As bad as Israel is, everybody would just point to America. Nobody would point at Russia. Nobody would point at China. Nobody would point at Germany. It would be the United States. It's embarrassing that we still have people in this country who think we have some sort of moral standing to judge other countries and invade them for the atrocities that they commit while we do it at the same time. Jesus was Palestinian. That's true. Move. No, you move. We're going to fix the country. The thing is about if we all move, if people that are sensible moved, you guys would fall apart immediately. None of it, like you saying move is just you admitting that like you're kind of a sick fuck. I don't like people who think different than me. Move. How about you make a coherent argument? How about you defend it? If America's so fucking awesome, defend it. No, I don't know how to do that. I'm just going to insult you. Jeralusa said, do you have notes from your shows in case I miss it? Yeah, if you join the Discord, every link that we show on the show is posted in the Discord. Good reminder, Discord's free to join. You can, if you want to join the Discord, you can put it in the chat there, and a mod can DM you and get you information on how to join the Discord. I think I got that. Let me check with Jen real quick. I got that one. Okay. Now I'm going back up. Sorry, Casey, you're doing a great job keeping up with me. I want to go to number 5, Casey. Let's look at how targeted we are. Remember, Pete Hegseth was like, "Yeah, dude, we don't target innocent people." Well, if we don't target innocent people, holy fuck, we're bad at our jobs. New CNN investigation showing the amount of danger we've put civilians in for, again, a thing that's not a war, because they said it's not a war. So before anybody's like, "That's the price of war," this isn't a war. They're supposed to be targeted strikes to topple a regime.
The US and Israeli bombing campaign of Tehran has been targeting intelligence complexes, police stations and state broadcasters, but we verified videos and analysed satellite imagery and found the impact is going beyond that, due to the densely packed nature of the city and the large-scale weapons involved. Take a look at this satellite image. This crater is at least 40 foot wide. That means it was likely caused by a 2,000-pound bomb. The target, Iran's state broadcaster, the IRIB. The strike wiped out its communications mast. These bombs used by both the US and Israel are capable of killing or wounding people more than 1,000 feet away. And just 100 feet away is the Gandhi Hospital, one of...
If we know the radius, and we're going to drop it there. Do we just, is this a loophole, like a language loophole? Oh, we didn't target that. We knew that we were going to fuck them up, but our target was here. So is it just because the target's not here? Is that why we're not targeting civilians? If we know that it's going to kill innocent civilians, but they weren't the target, then like we just get away with it? Is that the defense by the United States?
the biggest in Tehran. Glass shattered, walls collapsed, and patients, including babies, being rushed out. As more videos like this one began to emerge, we started verifying them, pinpointing the hospital where each one was filmed. Then we cross-referenced with satellite imagery to see the damage caused by US and Israeli strikes. Like here, you can see the blown-out windows of the Gandhi hospital from space. Over in another central part of Tehran is the Motahari hospital. And just behind it is the Iranian police headquarters. In fact, you can see a police helicopter pad down here. This image is from just before it was struck, and this is after. Entire buildings flattened. The Motahari hospital is...
Yeah, once again, I'm not defending the IRGC. We're talking about American actions here. And if you can't address American actions and you have to deflect to the IRGC, you're exactly the type of bitch that we're talking about, the ones that never admit that the United States does anything wrong. You can do both. You can criticize Iran and the United States. You live in a binary, and you've got to get out of that. Both can be wrong. Stop doing the whataboutism thing, Jeffrey. Stop it. It makes you look silly. It looks like you're in a fucking cult. These are children. Did you not see the video of children? Infants? Well, they do bad things, so we can too. But you can criticize both. You can criticize the Iranians and their mistreatment of their own people. You can criticize them for killing their own people. You can criticize them for silencing protesters, both by threat and by physical force. All of that is all fair criticism. But if you can't then also criticize us for killing children, then it appears that you're just kind of like culty and you don't really actually care about lives. How can you only care about Iranian lives when they lose their lives to their own government, but when we take their lives, it's fine? It just makes sense of that for me. I care about the Iranians. What if we kill them? That's fine.
Is still standing, but we verified this video showing substantial damage inside. It's not the only hospital in the area affected. Over here is the Khatam hospital. Glass windows shattered, and medical staff are seen running out. Further down the same street is the Iranian Red Crescent Society. Smoke billowing from behind the building.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. If you want a Discord link, DM Jen, do you want him to DM you on Discord? I forgot. We don't ask the mods anymore. Where do you want him to DM you?
Yeah.
On Discord. So if you have Discord, if you look at the Venmo username up there, it's JENNDUBB1. Just send Jen a message on Discord and she'll get you a link.
Again, people are fleeing. Across Iran as a whole.
Good people have to do bad stuff in war. We're not at war. See, this is your problem again. See, you guys will justify anything, but no, you don't. You don't have to kill children at war. We didn't have to drop those bombs. First of all, we're not at war. Second of all, stop justifying murdering children, please. Thank you.
More incidents like these are emerging.
I mean, it's sick. It's honestly sick to watch you guys justify stuff. It's okay to admit that our country's fucked up. That's the first step in being better. As somebody who is deconstructed from being in a cult, I can tell you that one of the most difficult thing to acknowledge is that you yourself are fucked up, that you yourself are not the victim, that sometimes you're the perpetrator. But once you acknowledge that, and once you learn to live with that, it changes you. It makes you think twice before you make decisions. And then when you do fuck up, it really, really affects you. And I think that's the main difference between those who oppose war and those who agree with war. If you're an American who still is just like, I love our military, they're great, I support them 100%, then you've just decided that no matter what our military does, you're going to support it. I applaud those who served. Some of the best people I know served in the military. Some of the worst people I know served in the military. I have a family member who went to West Point, who's a Black Hawk helicopter, and he's told me many stories. Times when he chose to be empathetic. Times when he chose to show restraint. And times when others around him didn't. And it really, really affects him because we don't do anything about those who go to war and just murder innocent people. We don't do a goddamn thing about that because the one thing America might be best at is never admitting that we do anything wrong, which is a pathetic quality to have as a human being and as a country. It shows a lack of courage, a lack of morals, a lack of integrity. I don't trust anybody who says they never do anything wrong. And I don't trust people who look at our country or politicians like they do no wrong. That's how we wind up with Donald Trump as president. You get a guy that literally MAGA won't admit that he's ever done anything wrong. It's not an attribute I have much respect for. All right, moving on here. Here is this is a lot of you guys were talking about this, and so I want to report honestly here in the people that Iranians are very happy about Donald Trump coming in and taking out the leader, and here they are gathered celebrating Donald Trump. Oh, wait, sorry. No, this is celebrating the new Ayatollah and to protest against Israel and the United States. I forgot. My bad. It is a lie that the majority of Iranians support what Trump is doing. There's no evidence to back that up. What it is doing is it's radicalizing a lot of people. You have to remember that the Ayatollah is not only a political leader, but a religious leader. And when you take out the head of somebody's religion, and again, religious people aren't always the most sensible, you're going to create radicals. I was part of the Mormon religion. There was some people from the state of Missouri killed Joseph Smith. And about a decade later, unrelated people from Missouri were passing through the state of Utah. Well, it wasn't a state yet, on their way to California for the gold rush. And a bunch of Mormons kidnapped them, tricked them, took them out into a place called Mountain Meadows and executed all of them except for the children under 2. And then they stole those children. Why? Because they thought it was fair for them to retaliate against the people who killed Joseph Smith, despite the fact that none of the people that they killed had anything to do with the death of Joseph Smith. We react that way. This is going to create more violence, more radicals, and for those that were already had some allegiance to the regime, they are now more steadfast. And for those that might have been on the fence, that will switch them. We're creating this will have reverberations for decades. There will be attacks for decades to get back at the United States. And what scares me the most is that the United States, because we never admit that we're wrong, when those attacks happen, we will escalate, and then they will escalate, and we will escalate, and it's never ending. And we already know, like, the war on terror does not work. We've been dealing with terrorists in the Middle East since before 2001, but it has been nonstop escalation since 2001. It is not a winnable war. You have to win this with diplomacy. And people don't like that. Especially conservatives don't like that. Nobody likes slow moving peace, but there's no trust. We don't trust them, they don't trust us. Nobody in the Middle East trusts each other. So you're going to have to rebuild that trust decade by decade by decade. But we do that. Like, we took great steps. Like the Iranian nuclear agreement was huge. That was one of the best accomplishments that any president of my lifetime has ever been able to negotiate. Where we had the Iranians with under 4% enriched uranium, with a promise not to create a nuclear weapon, and we had oversight. And Donald Trump just couldn't let Obama have an accomplishment, or maybe Netanyahu convinced him, or maybe a little bit of both. And so we ripped up that agreement. And what did Iran do? They're like, all right, fuck you then. We're going to enrich uranium. And then we escalated to this point. Would we be where we're at now had that agreement still been in place? Absolutely not. There is no reason to believe that Iran would have escalated their enrichment. They were following through on the deal. There was no reason to rip that agreement up. But Trump doesn't like diplomacy. He likes being a bully. He likes people worshiping him. He likes people being afraid of him. He doesn't really know how to operate diplomatically. He never has his whole life. He has no lifelong friends. He has no loyalty or allegiance to anybody. He's fucked over every business partner that he's ever had. All he knows is chaos. He's a very broken man. And I think a lot of broken people see that and they're like, yeah, that's what we should do. And you've been indoctrinated to believe that the only thing that we can do in the Middle East is murder everybody. And that's the only time we're ever going to get peace. But we had Iran, who was in a place where they were not proliferating. And although Netanyahu was trying, he tried to get Obama, he tried to get Biden, he tried to get Trump. All three of those presidencies, Netanyahu was like, oh, they're about to attack. It's imminent. You got to attack with us. And Obama, Biden, Trump all said no. The difference is, this time around, Trump doesn't have anybody around him with a fucking brain. He just has a bunch of people that tell him yes to everything. And Trump doesn't want to learn stuff. Trump wants to react in the moment. He doesn't research. And so when Netanyahu's like, hey, dude, they're about to attack. He's like, fuck, for real? Yeah, dude, for sure. They're definitely going to attack. He's like, fuck it, let's bomb them. And now we've bombed them twice. Diplomacy is the way, is the only way forward here. Otherwise, we're just always going to be at war. There's no end to this fight. All right. This was interesting. And I got to tell you, a couple days ago, I was talking to Athena, and I sent her a clip that I didn't wind up playing because I just wanted to get her opinion on it. And it was about these Kurdish fighters. And many of you have heard this too. Fox News was showing videos of this. All these Trump accounts were showing like these allegedly Kurdish fighters coming out of the mountains that were going to come attack the Iranian regime. And you notice you don't hear about that anymore. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that nobody's tweeting about that anymore? No, you hear Caroline Leavitt talking about it. No members of Congress are talking about that anymore. It's because it wasn't real.
Iran will still be a country.
Right.
It will still produce oil.
Yeah, it was.
Jeffrey, I'll issue Jeffrey Myers. I'll offer you the same challenge that I offer every MAGA who fucks this up. You're very generic in your criticism of me. You say I'm naive and I need to educate myself more on the sources and history. That's fine. I can take that criticism. Why don't you tell me what I'm missing instead of just generically insulting me? You all say the same thing. You are all exactly the same. This is an open platform. Anybody can come up here and talk to me. Any of you are welcome to message Jen on Discord. She will bring you up in real time and you can correct my information. It is an open invitation to all of you. I do this 5 days a week. It's been a month since anybody has come up and brought up any other information. It's an open platform. Even if what you're saying is true, your generic insults don't point me in a direction of what I'm getting wrong. What am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do with that information? Just like at the end of the show, be like, oh, he said I was naive and should check my sources. Okay. I did check my sources. If I'm wrong, which I'm fine being wrong, I'm wrong from time to time, just correct the sources. But these generic insults make you look dumb. They make it look like that you're just uncomfortable with this information. Anyways, let's get back to these Kurdish, this Kurdish infiltration that was going to attack the leadership and working with the United States that was totally real.
Still have an economy, and one of their
still going to have an economy, unless Haviv is saying that what Trump really wants to do is blockade China from buying oil from anybody around the world. Like, is
and
that?
I'm sure China would have something to say about that.
I think they might. I
think they might. What do you think about the chances of boots on the ground? Coming? Not coming?
I think the chances of special forces are getting pretty high.
Reportedly, we sent Kurdish troops in already with special forces.
Yes, and then as we report,
8 members of the U.S. military dead. Still no answer on what the imminent threat was.
Reported actually,
you guys
immediately it wasn't true.
Okay,
so that was fascinating.
Yeah,
that was leaked by the Israelis. It seems that the invasion, not the invasion, is going to happen, because you can get that wrong.
150 wounded, is that the number?
And then it doesn't end up happening. They said thousands of Kurdish fighters have invaded Iran and are currently fighting inside Iran.
Right.
That was the reporting from a bunch of outlets. And it clearly seemed to be sourced from Israel. We talked to all of these different Kurdish sources.
That's crazy. Israel lied? No.
All of them are like, no.
It was 8 as of this morning. The last I had heard before was 7. I heard 8 this morning. If that's wrong, let me know.
It's not happening. Like, not casting judgment on whether it should, but it literally is not happening. And then this Iranian Kurdish base inside Iraq was bombed, which maybe it was from Iran, who thought that the reports were true. Maybe it was from Israel, who's like trying to rile them up and say, you need to go in there. We don't know. But it's not happening. Like, so the invasion is not happening. So the U.S. is putting enormous pressure on them to go in. The problem is, in 1991, we told the Kurds to rise up in northern Iraq.
Yeah.
They rose up, and then Saddam massacred them.
It's always the Kurds.
We then supported them in Syria.
Yeah.
To go against ISIS. And a couple months ago, we sold them out.
Right.
So the Kurds have been saying publicly, all right, 1991, that's one thing. And also all of the betrayals going back hundreds of years. But 91 is one thing. You sold us out like 2 months ago.
Right. That's insane. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So you think we're like, but they're still calculating, like, because they're under a lot of pressure to do it. And you know, Bush and Obama were actually pretty decent for northern Iraq, the Kurdish region. So they're kind of, but they're comfortable too. They're like, we've got our autonomy. We're happy. Like,
yeah, why get involved?
Good. Like,
do we have a sergeant major in here that's too cowardly to have a conversation? Is that you, Sergeant Major Dennis Hawkins? You're a real warrior, but also a keyboard warrior. Certainly, if you're a sergeant major, certainly you have information that I don't have. I'd be happy to hear you out. You could tell me all about it. Maybe you could tell us about how we have fucked over the Kurds a million times, and then how our intelligence told us that they were fighting for us and they're not. Maybe you could, with all your experience, you could explain why we fuck over our allies consistently. Or are you just like an order taker, Sergeant Major? Like, you don't really ask questions, you just take the orders. No. But you're welcome here anytime. All right. Now here's what Iran's saying, and this is what we had to be. This is what we're afraid of. Is now we've backed Iran into a corner, and what we're asking Iran to do is to back down and do whatever the United States wants. Well, we wouldn't do that. We certainly wouldn't just back down, and we're asking Iran to do that. And this has been the fear all along: is that Iran will say no, and then what? Then what do? Just have a prolonged war? We tried it in Iraq. Saddam Hussein said no. Okay, then we had a long war. Lots of people died. Trillions of dollars wasted. Nothing accomplished. Except for we had that big mission accomplished banner. I remember that day. I remember thinking, goddamn, George Bush is the best president of all time. Then like 3 weeks later, it was like, fuck, it wasn't accomplished.
Is reporting in Tehran. He has an exclusive interview now with Kamal Asi, who is the foreign policy advisor to the Supreme Leader. CNN is operating in Iran with the permission of the Iranian government, but maintains full editorial control over what it reports. Have a look at this.
Iran has a new supreme leader. What does that mean for your military effort and the confrontation with the United States and Israel?
That means the system is quite functioning.
So the United States says it's drastically degraded the Iranian military, the capabilities as far as missiles is concerned, drones is concerned. How much longer?
Mods, can you get rid of JSEX? Can get another 24 hours. You made it. I might have missed it, JSEX, but every fucking day you turn this into homophobia. God, you are a sensitive little bitch. 24 hours for you. You can catch the last 20 minutes tomorrow.
Longer can you do this?
That is one of the false narratives that the United States government is producing. Iranian military is quite strong, as you see.
Now, I don't know. I don't know enough about the Iranian military to know if what they're saying here is bluster or if they are strong. And frankly, I don't think anybody in this chat knows. So let's all be honest about that. He could be lying. He could be telling the truth. However, they are now saying, like, we're not backing down. And that's a fucking problem for the promise that we weren't going to war. Because if they call the United States bluff, what do you think Trump's going to do? You think Trump's going to back down on this one? I don't know. I mean, if this was a trade deal, he would certainly back down. Taco Trump. Let's hope that Taco Trump shows up when it comes to the military. But this is what a lot of us were afraid of. Like, what does Iran do? Does Iran just accept a subservient role, or do they say we'll fight till the end? Sounds like they're saying fight till the end. So now we're going to have this long potential like war. Still don't even know what the threat was. We're just doing it because we started a war. We have to finish it. We spend trillions of dollars. Lose a bunch of Americans, kill hundreds of thousands of Iranians. For what? I don't know why. I don't know why we're there.
Because they have the motivation. They have the...
Jeff, shut the fuck up. I know more about Islam than you. Okay? You're wrong. If Islam was this problem that you think it is, we would have a problem here in America with Islamist fundamentalists. The overwhelming majority, like 99% of people living in this country who are Muslim, are not attacking us. Be specific. You can come up tomorrow and talk about it. But dude, shut the fuck up. They share the same book. You don't criticize Christians in the same way. Your problem is you're a fucking bigot. And you think that your fear and your hatred is justified because you saw some shit on Facebook, but you're not living in reality. When were you at risk of a Muslim harming you? I've never been harmed by a Muslim. Nobody here, certainly almost nobody here has been harmed by a radical jihadist. Stop it. If you're not willing to criticize your religion and Judaism in the same way that you criticize Muslims, then shut the fuck up. But we do the same shit they do. And if you don't do that, then do you appreciate, like, do you want to be linked to radical Christian terrorists? Should we preemptively attack you because of what radical Christian terrorists do? No, but I'm a Christian. Oh, okay. Okay. Read their scriptures. I did. I've read the Quran. I've read the Old Testament. I've read it. They're all, just like anything. You can interpret those things and you can justify a horrific action from any of those books. But the reality is almost all Muslims don't perpetrate violence on others based on their religion, just like almost all Christians don't.
Arms that they need, which are produced in Iran. As a matter of fact, we are not dependent on any other country for weapons and arms.
So your side is ready for a long war if the United States and Israel choose that. Do you consider this an existential threat to the Islamic Republic?
It is an existential threat to the Islamic Republic, and therefore we have to stay with full might, as we are doing now.
Is your side seeking, or will you seek, a ceasefire with the United States at this point in time, and with Israel?
I don't see any room for diplomacy anymore, because Donald Trump has been deceiving others and not keeping with his promises. And we experienced it in 2 times of negotiations, that while we were engaged in negotiation, they struck us.
How does all of this end?
Yes, I've read the hadiths. Could you specify which hadith you're talking about that advocates that Muslims attack America or Christians? Specify. Give me a specific example. Stop being generic.
Then, if you say right now there's no room for negotiation, President Trump says he wants complete surrender. What does that lead to?
There's no room unless the economic pressure would be built up to the extent that other countries would intervene to guarantee this termination of aggression of Americans and Israelis against Iran.
Okay, well, pull up Sahih. I don't know that off the top of my head. We'll pull it up. Let's get the English translation. You want me to read? No, specific. Which prayer, brother? You can't just cite specifically. But we don't have time to read the whole thing. Specifically, please. I keep asking specifics. You're not giving me any specifics. You're just giving me generic answers. Specifically, point to a prayer that says that we need to that everyday Muslims are using that says you should attack Christians. Do you have one there, Jeffrey? Go to the next part of this outline. I'll look for it. If I don't see it, they go by fast. Mods, don't get him if you repost it, but repost it if I miss it. How much time do we have? About 15, 20 more minutes. Okay, I want to go. Yeah, I want to go to this. I want to go to Hegseth today. 2 really good questions here, actually.
Secretary Hegseth, thank you. Jordan Conrad's from the Gateway Pundit. Axios reported, citing U.S. and Israeli sources, that the U.S. was not happy with strikes on 30 fuel depots in Iran. While this is anonymous sourcing, it seems kind of congruent with what President Trump said yesterday, that there's certain spots they don't want to hit relating to energy infrastructure that would take a long time to rebuild. And, whether this reporting is true or not, what's your message to Americans, those who supported the president and those who aren't really in favor of this war and who worry that Israel might be taking advantage of the U.S.'s backing? And then for Mr. Chairman, for you, I wanted to ask, when you say that we're moving inland, what capabilities does Iran have to shoot down jets over their land? And would that trigger some kind of rescue operation that could risk a bigger ground operation?
Well, I would just state by saying Israel's been a really strong partner in this effort. Where they have different objectives, they've pursued them. Ultimately, we've stayed focused on ours. But what Iran has felt is the power of the world's two most powerful air forces. In that particular case, those weren't our strikes or that objective, or that wasn't necessarily our objective. But the president has made it clear to those concerns that we're not getting pulled in any direction. We're leading. The president is leading. He's determining where we want to go, what the outcome will be, what the end state is, with a very keen eye. And I understand those concerns because I've heard from a lot of people who I went through 20 years of those wars myself, worried about getting dragged in, worried about mission creep, worried about nation building or democracy expansion. That's never the perspective the president has pursued on this. Just because previous presidents and previous secretaries have decided to just pour more resources and more people in toward some unguided end state doesn't mean that's the way the world needs to look today. In fact, the American people voted for a different approach. But what the president also stated from the beginning was Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And it's one thing to say it. It's easy to say. Anybody can say that. I mean, Barack Obama said that. But to do something about it takes courage and resolve. But in that courage and in that resolve, you can also be very scoped in what you're trying to execute to ensure that the sacrifice of Americans, American treasure, American lives, all of those properly meet the objective that you're trying to accomplish. And certainly, as someone I talked out front about what the Iranians have done to our generation, yes, we're clear-eyed about it. But my job is to keep it scoped, given the directive to the president to accomplish the mission.
No new wars. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find your translation here too. It's about silk garments. Is that what you're referencing? The silk garments, Jeffrey? I'm searching exactly what you sent me. I don't know if this is the right reference. All right, well, I got to move on. You can DM me. We can talk about it. I only have like 15 minutes. Add me on Discord, or you can DM me on TikTok, or you can find me on Twitter too. Let me get through the show. You can DM me. You can come back tomorrow. We can talk about it. I'll read up on what you want me to read up on. Let's not do it in real time. But welcome to come back tomorrow. I'll add it on the show. Okay. Hegseth keeps talking about unconditional surrender. We just saw the Iranians say, like, we're not going to unconditionally surrender, obviously. So naturally, in this discussion on 60 Minutes with Pete Hegseth, they said, like, what does unconditional surrender look like? And I would love an answer to this. I would love some sort of specifics, but Pete Hegseth isn't giving us this, which is even more alarming with this administration. They don't seem to really have a plan. It seems to be something they did on a whim, and they don't seem to have any idea of what victory looks like here.
What does that look like? Unconditional surrender? How will you know it's real?
It means we're fighting to win. It means we set the terms. We'll know when they're...
Okay, so what does a win look like, and what are the terms?
They're not capable of fighting. There'll be a point where terms... We'll know when they're not capable of fighting. There'll be a point where they'll have no choice but to do that. Whether they know it or not, they will be combat ineffective. They will surrender.
Typically, the understanding of a surrender is person to person. Is that what would be required in a matter like this?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. Whether they want to admit it or not, whether their pride lets them say it out loud or not, it's President Trump who will set the terms of that.
The president...
So you just can't... Again, this administration, we're not telling you anything. Trump will decide. That's not good. That's not good to just say Trump will decide.
Of Iran said yesterday that the U.S. demand for unconditional surrender is, quote, a dream that they should take to their grave.
There was a very long war between Iran and Iraq, almost 8 years, and they never surrendered in that war. And I'm just wondering if that factors into your calculus or the president's calculus.
I mean, there was a really long fight that I was a part of and my generation was a part of.
I know that.
In Iraq and Afghanistan, where a lot of foolish approaches were used. This is war. This is conflict.
Whoa. I thought it wasn't war.
This is bringing your enemy to their knees. Now, whether they will have a ceremony and
I mean, all this just is like so masturbatory. Like it's just like war porn. It's not saying anything. This is the Secretary of Defense. This is the person that's supposed to give us some sort of clarity. If you're going to go on television, give us some sort of fucking clarity. Yeah, now it's a war again. Can you make up your mind? Then it's like, okay, well, what happens when we stop military action? Because again, like it was about liberation. Then it was an imminent threat, but you can't tell us what the imminent threat was. So then it was back to like, it's about liberating the Iranian people. What are the goals here? We're not going to tell you. All right, well, what happens when it's done? Then what do we do? Can you give us any specifics on how this, once this is over, what the plan is?
The president has indicated that maybe the operation will wrap up sooner than he thought it was going to. What's the plan once the U.S. stops military action? Will the U.S. play a role in the aftermath, or will they leave Iran to sort it out?
ultimately the aftermath is going to be in America's interests, our interests. We won't live under a... What
the fuck does that mean? Why is he talking in code all the fucking time? Can you just tell us something ever?
We won't live under a nuclear blackmail scenario.
What? The fuck is that? The fuck is a nuclear blackmail scenario? We aren't under that. We haven't been under that. What the fuck is he talking about? How many Americans did die, Michael? We didn't have Americans dying until we attacked Iran, and now Americans are dying. You liberals. Yeah.
Of conventional missiles that can target our people, which is why the objectives have been scoped.
We have no evidence that they could target our people with missiles. They don't have ICBMs. It's looking more and more like the threat was imaginary this whole time. We won't be under the threat of nuclear blackmail and missiles that can target our people, but they couldn't because they don't have ICBMs. So what the fuck are we talking about here?
From the beginning. Missiles, missile production, a defense industrial base, Navy, all in service of ensuring they don't have nuclear.
So we're going to take away their military? That's the plan. Yeah, for sure Iran's going to go for that. Yeah, they'll go for that. Yeah, we don't want a military. We're not afraid of Israel or anything. Why in the world would they just going to accept that Israel owns them now? Is that what this war is for?
Power projection capabilities. That's what matters to President Trump. That's what matters to the American people. And ultimately, that's why we're so laser focused on ensuring those objectives and those objectives alone are met.
Joe, I appreciate you asking how the fuck people defend Iran's regime. We're not. Nobody is. You're just stupid. What you are seeing is you're taking criticism of America, and instead of looking at that and saying, like, is criticism warranted here? You're saying, oh, I'm either America or I'm Iran. America's perfect. Iran is bad. If you criticize America, you're defending Iran. That's a dumb way to think. You should not do that. You should think differently. You should add some nuance into your life and your way of thinking. It would behoove you. All right. Now to Trump. This is a fair question. He said he was there for the Iranian people. I don't know what he's doing for the Iranian people. I'm going to help them, he said. Fair question here. You promised that you'd help them. Are you going to help them?
President, you promised the Iranian people you would help them, but it sounds like you're willing to end this fight after your military objectives have wrapped up. Isn't that a betrayal of the people?
Will I help them? I'd like to, if they can behave. But they've been very menacing. You know, they're great people. They have an amazing population. It's amazing, smart. brilliant, energetic. They have a great point. I'd love to help them, but they have to be in a system that allows them to be helped. And right now they're in a system that only allows failure. And I don't want that. And I want a system that's not going to be attacking us. We want a system.
They weren't. Iran hasn't been attacking us. None of this is real. We attacked them. They haven't attacked us.
That can lead to many years of peace. And if we can't have that, we might as well get it over with right now. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So no answer. Yeah, I'm not gonna help him. All right, I got to skip a bunch of stuff to get to this because Lindsey Graham, first of all, might be drunk again. You want to talk about loyalty to America? You want to talk about treason? This is the most treasonous thing I've ever heard any member of Congress ever say. This entire interview on Hannity last night was batshit crazy. Lindsey Graham is loyal to one country and one country only, and it is Israel.
All the anti-Seminites to all the isolationists.
What was that there? What was that word there, Lindsey?
All the anti-Seminites to all.
Seminites. Those are people that hate semen. Everybody who's anti-Seminites, which I have it on good authority that he is not an anti-Seminite.
To all the isolationists, I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. So we have a commander-in-chief in President Trump, who I think is Ronald Reagan plus. All the.
Oh. Well, how do you think AIPAC money is being spent in Tennessee? Let's go over to the Tennessee state legislature. We'll get back to Lindsey Graham in a second, but this is what AIPAC money buys you in Tennessee.
This legislation standardizes terminology in Tennessee state government materials by requiring the use of historically accurate names, Judea and Samaria, instead of West Bank. With that, Mr.
We can't use the legal name of West Bank. We're going to force people in Tennessee to call it Judea and Samaria because we have freedom of religion here. And then watch. Are we going to allow some debate on this? Now that we're putting this through, let's debate about it. In America, we debate on things, right? We have the discussion. Not in Tennessee.
Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Todd renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
This question been called. There's objection. We're on the board. We're on the board.
And they just force a vote.
All those in favor of previous question vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote.
That's super important stuff they got going on in Tennessee, forcing people to use biblical names rather than the current legal name. That's so cool. Thanks, AIPAC. Thanks for your money. Glad we're wasting our time on your bullshit. Now here's Lindsey Graham. He's going to go after our allies. Now, Spain has been there with us. Spain has been an ally of the United States. Not as good of an ally as Israel, though, because Spain, goddamn Spaniards. Can you drag us into a fucking war once in a while so that we know you're a good partner? How come you're not giving us shitty intelligence and forcing us to bomb your enemies? Come on, Spain, step it up. Now we've got a problem with Spain. Why? Because Spain won't just give us money. Spain signed an agreement that said they would give 2% of their GDP towards NATO, and then Trump's like, I want you to do 5%, and they're like, no, we signed an agreement, we're doing 2%. So Spain's just standing up for themselves and their citizens as well, and that makes Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump, who are both cucks to Benjamin Netanyahu, very upset. So now, fuck Spain.
To our friends in Spain, man, you have lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has
refusing to bomb Iran
to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South.
No, fuck you too, Sergeant Major Dennis Hawkins. Fuck people who don't want to go to war.
Carolina, I'm asking to our friends in Spain.
Let's just threaten all of our allies. Let's fuck up all our relationships for Israel. Israel's this is a toxic relationship we've got ourselves in with Israel. And it's not just Spain. Let's get everybody else. Let's fuck over all our other allies here. I don't know who the fuck Lindsey Graham thinks he is. I don't know why he's speaking like he's the commander-in-chief or the president. You are a single senator, sir. I don't know why you're threatening all of our allies, you traitorous bitch.
Right thing. God bless you for trying. God bless you for destroying this regime.
And Spain, Macron, and Great Britain, they either wake up. This is their tipping point moment too. Just like the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, you decide now. UAE, decide now.
Why do they have to take part in this war? Why are they required now to join this war?
Qatar, decide now, because I'm a little sick and tired of the constant threading of needles. They wanted the Iranians stopped as much as the Israelis did.
Absolutely.
Truth be told.
God bless Israel.
All right.
We should move.
What was that? Oh, wait, not God bless America. What was that?
All right. We should move all our stuff to Israel. Thank you.
That's how he signed off. God bless Israel. Let's move all our stuff to Israel. Hey, that bitch is going to Israel. He and the Trumps, they're out of here. The story's coming out now that Lindsey Graham, who has been to Israel 9 times and meeting with Netanyahu, has been coaching Benjamin Netanyahu on how to deal with Trump. Now, we've seen that over and over again. If you've read any of the Epstein files, you know that the people around Trump love to get murderous regimes to manipulate Trump. And they teach him how, they teach these dictators how to manipulate Trump. And apparently that's what Lindsey Graham has been doing for Netanyahu. And it seems to be working, as we have now been dragged into a war by Benjamin Netanyahu. So Laura Ingraham asked Ted Cruz about this.
I want to ask about what the Wall Street Journal is reporting about your colleague, Senator Lindsey Graham. The Journal is saying that Graham traveled several times to Israel in recent weeks to help make the case on Iran, meeting with members of the country's intelligence agency, spoke with Netanyahu, coaching him on how to lobby President Trump for action. Graham said that Netanyahu showed the president intel that persuaded President Trump to go ahead. Senator, I know you all talk to foreign leaders, and that happens routinely. But speaking to a foreign leader on the precipice of war and seeming to be lobbying or being an intermediary, which this seems to indicate, is that the right way to go?
Well, listen, Lindsey is passionate about defending America, and he is on the road a lot. He's talking to work.
Seems to be mostly passionate about defending Israel, for the record. He doesn't seem to be that worried about defending America, because we're losing American lives, though there was no threat from Iran.
World leaders all over the world. There are times when I agree with Lindsey. There are times when I don't. But when it comes to
what
the
about
threat,
this? Well, what about this? I mean, this is something of a totally different level, is it not?
No, actually, when it comes to the threat Iran poses, Lindsey agrees they pose a major threat to America, and I agree they pose a major.
What's that major threat? Are they ever going to fucking tell us, besides that people chanted death to America? Are we ever going to get like a concrete answer of what this threat was? Or are they just going to keep lying and say that they had nukes and ICBMs? The threat is that they said death to America. Oh, no.
Major threat to America. Look, Lindsey and I disagreed on the Iraq War. He thought the Iraq War was a good idea. I thought the Iraq War was a mistake. I think Iran is fundamentally different because Saddam Hussein was not murdering Americans on the scale and level that Iran has been doing. Saddam.
Huh? Why not? Why not, Ted? What was the difference between Saddam Hussein? We weren't over there. We were here. Just like the Iranians aren't coming over here and killing Americans. They fund groups that have killed American soldiers over there. There's a simple solution for that. Stop invading other countries. But once we went to Iraq, did Saddam Hussein start killing Americans? Proximity was the problem there. You were an invading force. I can't believe that we invaded, and then people were mad about it and started shooting us. And then we stayed there forever and ever and ever. And we set up military bases, and we decapitated leadership. And we dictated trade. And we set embargoes on people, and we made it so that Iran couldn't sell their oil. I can't believe that they're upset with us. Take some responsibility. I would prefer if Iran didn't kill American soldiers. That would be great, and they have blood on their hands for that, and they should be held accountable. But, like, leave. Fucking leave. Did we need to spend trillions sitting over there for 30 fucking years? These arguments make no fucking sense. They know that they don't make any fucking sense. If you're saying, well, it's different than Saddam Hussein because they killed more, what else is different? You can't just boil it down to that's the one difference. What's the other difference? Oh, our presence in their region. Oh, that we were fighting their allies. That's the difference. So dishonest. Why these fuckers want to drag us into war all the fucking time?
Saddam Hussein was not funding Hamas and Hezbollah killing Americans, and President Trump acted boldly to take...
Oh, that's what we accused him of. And what did we do to Saddam Hussein? We armed militant groups. We armed terrorist groups to go to infiltrate in Iraq and to fight against Saddam Hussein. We were doing what he's accusing Iran of doing. It's so fucking pathetic how we think that if other people do exactly what we do, that they are wrong, but it's okay if we do it. And then we're like, I can't believe people are bombing us. I can't believe people attack us. Could we just stop invading all the fucking time? Would that be all right?
Out a regime that had been killing Americans over and over.
But we're not disagreeing on that.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Our point is working with Netanyahu so closely to lobby President Trump, acting as an intermediary for a foreign country. Is that appropriate? That was my simple question. I'm not trying to be difficult here, but that's slightly unusual, is it not?
Yeah,
I agree with you on the other points.
I don't think it's a fair characterization that Lindsey is an intermediary for Israel, and a lot of the critics say.
He's just on Hannity being an intermediary. That's what do you mean that's not fair? That's the most accurate description of what Lindsey Graham is. If Lindsey Graham is anything, he is an intermediary between Israel and the United States. It's the thing he talks about the most.
Oh, the war is all about Israel. Understand, it's not about Israel. It is about America. The reason President Trump acted is to defend America. There's a reason the Ayatollah referred to Israel as the little Satan, and America is the great Satan. I believe...
I mean, kinda, right? Who's responsible for the most death over there? Israel, United States. Who acts first? Israel, United States. It's hard to argue. Again, if we were doing blind resumes and you didn't know anything about the history of these countries, you'd be like, clearly Israel and the United States. If just you didn't know their names, like that one and that one, those are the problems. And then they'd be like, turn over the flag. You're like, fuck, that's us. God damn it.
If the Ayatollah got a nuclear weapon, he would use it. Laura, if the Ayatollah could kill you and me right now, he would. And that's why President Trump acted. And so
we killed the Ayatollah. We are invading and killing Iranians. They did not kill our leaders. They did not invade us. This is fucking insane. You don't get to just claim they're going to do something that they've never done, and then you do that exact thing and then use it as justification. This is why, again, like, people fucking hate America. You just get to make shit up. You just go kill somebody and you're like, well, they would have done it.
I get frustrated with all the people who say, oh, this is all for Israel. No, it's not. This is for America. This is Donald Trump being the commander-in-chief of the
how's it helping us? Thanks, Ted. I didn't know. I didn't know this was for Israel. Ted will explain how it's for us.
United States of America and protecting us. And you started your monologue by saying this was not going to be a protracted land battle with troops there for a long time. You're absolutely right. That is not going to happen. But the president is acting decisively to take out real threats to the lives and safety of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
They still haven't told us what that real threat is, though. We're still waiting on the imminent threat that they promised they were going to tell us about. Doesn't seem to exist. Congratulations to all you cucky Republicans who sat through this the whole time and bootlicked another regime change war. Completely heel turned on your morals that you pretended you had during the last election. So Congratulations to all of you. I got to get going. I got to go pick up my daughter. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here, wherever you're watching. The replays can be found of today's show on YouTube and on Twitch. You can catch them there. Also on Spotify. I think maybe I'm supposed to do some shit on Spotify, but I keep forgetting to do it. You can check out our merch shop. That link's in the bio. If you would like an invite to our Discord, make sure you message JENNDUBB1. That's JenDub1 on Discord. She'll get you an invitation. Reminder, if you are not a paid subscriber, but you would like to be, every other Monday we do a movie night that's in the Discord, and we have some also do occasional members only events. Any level of membership gets you there, but it also helps us project our finances into the future as we try and do some more events, upgrade our setup here, and perhaps do some stuff on the road. So if you'd like to help us out by becoming a paid member, you can do that on TikTok, YouTube, or Twitch. TikTok's dead right now. I don't know how long we're going to be banned for there. I'm on Cameo. If you'd like a cameo, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, all the normal places. And I think that's it. Mods, great job today. Thanks, Casey, for doing the outline. Jen, I think, is due at the dentist, so she's not going to say anything. But until I see you tomorrow morning, take care of yourselves. Go outside and touch grass. If grass is not available to you, I highly recommend smoking that grass. But if you can't smoke that grass or touch that grass, find a way to get away from the world and get away from the news. It's a shitty fucking cycle every day. And I appreciate you guys being here with me and covering the news. It means a lot to me that you're here every single day. Thanks again for those who donated, knocked out our gift goal today. I greatly appreciate it. And until I see you tomorrow, I'll be dreaming of you. Take care of yourselves, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.